The government had ordered schools closed in Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu due to the street protest over the high cost of living. Odinga has announced that the protest will proceed today as planned. He confirmed that his bodyguard, Maurice Ogeta, had been freed by police and called for the release of at least 9 Azimio leaders arrested during Wednesday's protest. Those arrested include Embakasi East MP Babu Owino, Kilifi Senator Stewart Madzayo, among others. An engagement between the police and anti-government protesters is expected today, and the demos enter the second day as directed by opposition as they continue to demand that their grievances be addressed. Reports indicate that 6 people died yesterday after being shot by police officers. 2 allegedly killed in Nairobi, 1 in Makueni, Kisumu, Migori and Nakuru counties respectively. Meanwhile, 12 people were injured in Migori County, 9 in Nakuru County, 5 in Nyeri County, 9 in Kisumu County, 1 in Kibra and 2 in Mathare here in Nairobi. The government says that police arrested more than 300 people who will be arraigned in court.
Wamepiga kijana mwingine risasi. Inatakana hatua ichukuliwe. Yani tunaumia sisi wa Kenya. Hata mtoto ameuliwa. Mtoto wangu amekuwa kwa plot wanapiga hadi nini? Wanapiga hadi tear gas kwa plot ndani. Mtoto wangu ndio huyo amepigwa tear gas, mtoto ameshindwa kupumua. Sasa amelazwa hospitali medical. Tunaumia, sisi nifanye nini kweli?
Despite the protests and running battles with the police yesterday, Azimio has continued to maintain that demos will continue uninterrupted. In a statement, Azimio announced change of venue and asked their supporters to converge in Huruma, Kangemi and the Central Business District instead of Jacaranda and Kamkunja's earlier advised. Azimio's position comes at a time the Catholic bishops now say that they are ready to mediate a truce between President William Ruto and leader Raila Odinga. Led by Bishop Martin Kivuva, the bishops have also said that their previous efforts to bring the two together haven't been successful, but are hopeful that finally they will be able to succeed in bringing the two on a negotiating table.
Given the circumstance of the week and what is going on to happening today, we did not succeed meeting them face to face. However, we are ready, prepared. We have a system, we're just waiting for that openness. But we also do understand the stress they're going through at this particular moment.
On his part, President William Ruto has emphasized that he is ready for talks, but only if they are about issues affecting Kenyans and not about sharing the government.
Hatuna shida na kuongea na mtu yeyote, so long as tunaongea mambo ya wananchi. Mambo ya kugawana mamlaka, wananchi wanaamua kusiku ya kura. Mnataka twende tufanye mambo ya handshake tena na hao watu? Mumekataa mambo ya handshake. Hebu niole wana wanasema hakuna handshake dunia hii.
The president's statement came at a time Kenya Kwanza leaders led by his deputy Rigathi Gachagua insist that they are ready to protect the government they won on election day.
Watu wengine wanasema ati awalie serikali nusu. Mnaweza kubali? Waende wakiendanga kazi yangu na huyu Kimani Ichung'wa na Ndede na hao watu wajumbe ni kulinda uongozi na ushindi wetu. Mnataka tuendelee? So hiyo watu wanataka kutafuta rais pale Ikulu, nimeweka mtego kila pahali, hakuna pahali wanaweza bidhia.
It should be noted that ambassadors of the United States and the European Union called for dialogue between the government and the opposition in order to reach an agreement. And the Media Council of Kenya has condemned the move by security officers to impersonate journalists during protest so as to arrest participants of the demonstrations. MCK CEO David Omoyo termed this as unprofessional misconduct by the officers. Omoyo further commented on the arrest of scribes as they covered yesterday's protest. He said it was a ridiculous thing to do, but thanked the police for releasing the journalists later. He noted that the duties of journalists which are protected by the Constitution. Kenyan Union of Journalists also condemned the impersonation, insisting that it is illegal. In one of the incidences of impersonation, a video circulating on social media shows a man who was filming protests in Mathare suddenly arresting one of the protesters. The man, who is in plain clothes, is seen standing near the crowd, filming using his phone before he grabs one of the demonstrators and escorts him to a waiting police lorry. This is News Web. Dennis Aseta, good morning.
.102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty.
This is one of the hottest show that we can never miss in the morning, and it's a show that really gives the real situation in the situation room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Nduthai, nice meeting you. Even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again. Character is like pregnancy, you cannot hide it. You know, people hiding here and there, you know, but after 2-3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you are showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say, you cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment. The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Nyeri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Baridi ni degree ngapi hapa?
Hata sijui, lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot?
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys and walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest.
Good morning. Welcome to Thursday. If yesterday is anything to go by, traffic can actually be a menace. Today doesn't look like anything has started to build up, really. Let's take a look at the Thika Superhighway where nothing is going on right about now. Usually we would see some movement, at least around Survey going into the CBD. But it looks like it's another day of empty streets. It's another wait and see situation on Jogo Road as well. More or less the same thing. Not much movement then going out towards Landis and then into the city. This is all going to be a look-see kind of thing. Let's see how Thursday pans out to be. But for now, traffic is not a problem. It probably will not be for some time. Let's talk on Spice FM. KE on Twitter. Keep things moving. Thursday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Which one is that?
It's just a
thing.
Just a tune.
Just a tune. Tune namna ile.
Ile tune ile.
Tune ile. Uko na tune.
Yep.
Mama namna gani?
Salama kabisa.
It's good to see you today.
It's good to see you too, Eric. How are you?
I'm well.
You're well?
Yes.
Good morning.
It was a safe day for you yesterday?
Yes. I did a thing, man. I went and I slept for 3 hours.
Straight.
Until I thought I was unwell. But it was sweet sleep. You know the kind of sleep where... Yeah.
You sleep. Did you dream? Of course you did. Do you remember the dream?
No. I don't remember. But for some reason...
Do you normally remember your dreams?
When I dream, yeah. I normally remember. Did I tell you about how I've had dreams that will continue?
You have episode 1 and then today it continues.
Yeah.
It's like a series. Yeah?
But then yesterday I woke up.
You should talk to Showmax.
I know, right? We can do a collab.
Monetize that thing.
I can do what you do too. I can drop an episode every week. But then I woke up after my 3-hour nap. And for some reason, I was imagining me sitting somewhere eating mutura.
You were that's a dream, Ndu. That is what a dream is.
Strangest thing ever.
For some reason, I was imagining you were not awake.
No. I was awake.
You were dreaming. Of eating mutura somewhere, and you could even see where you were, right?
No, I woke up, and I remembered sitting somewhere eating mutura.
You woke up and
Did
you
I eat
remembered.
mutura recently? I had a piece of mutura last week on Friday.
So you
for the
woke
first
up,
time ever.
You woke up and remembered eating mutura.
In fact, it was you who gave it to me. You said, "Eat this mutura. This is mutura."
Oh, that mutura.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the first time I ever ate it. Ever.
And you liked it, right?
It was not bad.
You like
it was
it.
all right.
You like it.
Nah. It was not bad.
City.
Yes, please.
I gave her mutura and she liked it.
How about we start sanitizing this conversation right now?
In fact,
I'm unavailable.
In fact, her comment was, it was all right.
It's all right.
This thing that she dreams about.
Yes.
Days later.
Let's go back to
It was
my
your
house.
first time.
You know, this is one of
It
those
was my first time to ever have mutura. I've always thought about it as some
mutura.
dirty roadside snack.
Let me tell you something.
Here we go.
The way you say it, I think this is one of those occasions where you have to just switch languages. But probably go into French. Parlez-vous mutura?
Mangez-vous mutura? Oui, je mange mutura. Wow, oui.
Hey, so you dreamt about it, huh?
No,
That was
I
a dream.
woke up and remembered that I'd had it.
Yeah,
for
but
the
you were
first time ever. In the many years that I've lived in this country, I've never had it. Because I always thought it was okay. Jambalaya of sausages. It
Siti,
wasn't
how are you?
bad.
I am very tired.
You're very bad.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Very
not very well,
tired.
but I'm tired. This,
No one name.
I'm not certain because I actually had a good rest, but I'm not certain whether it is my spirit which is tired.
Your soul.
Yes, my soul is tired. Because if my soul is tired, then my body is going to be extremely tired.
Siti, Paul Eber.
We're waiting for something deep. What is wrong with you? We're waiting for something
that is deep, my friend.
You know this thing, this what Eric is saying. It would have sounded better if he had said an octave higher. Okay, City,
Paul Eber.
Agini, how are you?
Enjoy maisha. Mimi niko sawa.
You seem to be chipper this morning. You seem to be chipper.
Yeah, chips.
Le chips,
Yeah, I'm just dishing mutura like this.
This one is not going away soon.
No, it's not. And the sooner you realize it,
The bearer.
Bearer. Are you accepted? There's a new song, City, by that guy of many, the Stones guy from TZ.
Stones.
Gemstones.
Oh, the double gemstones.
Yes. Multiple gemstones.
Yes.
That guy works really, really hard. Diamond Platinums. Like he releases a series of songs and he just occupies space. Latest one. Enjoy. Listen to this one.
Kupenda bora nimpende mama yangu kama kupendwa mimi nitajipenda peke yangu. Oh, kilichomponza fala kujiona simba kumbe swala kazama kwenye penzi uchwara badala kusaka miamala. Ayo toka ndeti pesa sana pendeza na tena na enjoy na wanangu maombo wakamtinda soma na kamwili kananona we mwenyewe si unaona yani ainasema bora ni enjoy maisha mafupi ni simple yani nini tesekero jiunge nami upozeko jiunge na mimi bora ni enjoy maisha mafupi ni simple yani nini tesekero.
Sucker City, you wanna dance? Just do it. Just
let it go,
bob your head.
CT.
Come on,
Release
enjoy
something.
Did you not see the back and forth of my head?
Oh, that's dancing.
This is it.
Yes, that's internalized dancing being manifested by the nod of the head. It is a beautiful song.
It is. He does work really hard.
Bora ni enjoy. My heart, my soup in the simple. Amara vipi siri?
Vipi ni hiyo tu.
Maisha mafupi na simple, my friend.
Yes, don't complicate it.
Don't complicate it, my friend. Bora don't complicate it bana. Enjoy, bora ni enjoy. Yeah. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, everybody. We hope that you had a safe day yesterday, and condolences to those who lost their loved ones in yesterday's demonstrations, shot by police or whatever other means, whatever other kind of violence you witnessed yesterday. Pole sana. Pole sana. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. We have to talk about the Employment and Labor Relations Court, which is celebrating 10 years. So on this Justice Thursday at 7 a.m., we'll be joined by Justice Ocharo Kebira, who is a judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, coming to talk about the 10-year symposium and exhibition and reflections of what's happened this week. It began on Monday. It ends today at the KICC. At 8 o'clock, we will be joined by Engineer Maurice Akech. He is the Executive Director and Registrar of Contractors at the National Construction Authority. This is the boss. The building code, what new regulations mean for the construction industry. So they've come up with the new regulations, and this is going through public participation and all. Now, it's explaining what those new regulations mean for the construction industry. The boss of the National Construction Authority joins us at 8 a.m. At 9 a.m., we'll be joined by the Principal Secretary in the State Department for ICT and Digital Economy, Engineer John Tanui, transforming the digital industry in Kenya. Remember, part of the 5 pillars of the Kenya Kwanza administration is digital transformation. Yes?
Yeah.
So the PS in charge of delivering that is Engineer John Tanui. He comes at 9 a.m. for that conversation. Hiyo pana mzuri? Sio mzuri?
Kabisa.
Very good.
Tuko pamoja.
Tuko pamoja. Kama mnasema nini? 19 minutes after 6, live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else. If you're online, let us know where you're tuned in from. Ndu will tell us the weather, and then she'll also tell us who is registering their presence.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. Highs of 23 and lows of 13 through Thursday. We'll see lows of 15 in a mostly cloudy Nakuru, going to highs of 26. And Nyeri at 13 is cloudy, highs of 23. And lows of 12. We'll also see the same in Eldoret with highs of 23, cloudy conditions through the day. It's partly cloudy at 23 in Mombasa, highs of 29, and 29 will also be the high in a mostly cloudy Malindi at 24. It's 20 and cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 30 and highs of 28, and a cloudy Kakamega at 18. At 17, Kampala is clear, highs of 28 and lows of 16. Looking into Dar es Salaam, mostly clear at 22, highs of 31. And Johannesburg is clear at 6, highs of 14 and lows of 4. 24. It's partly cloudy at 26 in Lagos, highs of 30 and lows of 25. We'll see lows of 19 in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 21, going to highs of 30. Thursday afternoon is 33 and sunny in Beijing, highs of 36 and lows of 25. It's mostly cloudy at 15 in Paris, highs of 26, and 22 will be the high in a mostly cloudy London at 15. Clear conditions in New York Wednesday night at 24, coming into Thursday, highs of 27 and lows of 21.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Sophia Damery says good morning, and she's in the UAE. All right, Spice, we listen and watch you daily from what?
Ugaibuni.
Thank you very much.
Maju kule. Ugaibuni ni maju.
Maju huko juu.
Maju.
Okay. Peter Mora says good morning, tuned in from Kanunga. Is there something like that?
The song is Kanungo.
That's what I said.
No.
Jesus.
I've spoiled it. I've finished. It's over. Sheesh. Okay. Peter Mora, yeah, that's where he is. Desmond says good morning. Tuned in from Minneapolis in Minnesota. It's nighttime in our world. Yes, it is. Gladys Waithaka. Eric, so you do like that?
Good morning, Gladys.
CT Muga. Preparations do not spoil a trip. Still on this since yesterday. Totti Bishop says police masquerading as journalists is fueling the demonstrations even harder. The ludicrous arrests and killings should be called out. Enrollment requirements for police should be higher than an ID. Ololo. Yeah, it's true. Josegi says, good morning, great people watching from Kobo. Kindly help me in wishing my daughter Michelle Mukami, who is also this year's KCPE candidate, a happy 13th birthday today. Happy birthday to ya. There you go. Unga Mahindi, really, says good morning. Professor Someone
is called Unga Mahindi.
Yes. Hi, Ednah. How are you? Good. Tuned in from Minnesota is Sam Ondieki. Njawa Wajiko says, good morning. A happy birthday to Michelle. Indeed, everybody's wishing her a happy birthday. Philip Chirchir is tuned in, watching from the USA. Smart Guy says, yesterday, CT Muga questioned the Nation newspaper on the Korea issue. Later in the day, I saw a clip of the US trade representative clarifying the issue. It's true, she refused to meet Korea. Okay. Masharian Jeru says, good morning, watching from Portland, Oregon. I love you guys and your conversation is informative. Thank you. Georgia Korth says, good morning. Caroline Ondio says, good morning. Nakuru is tuned, though we lost someone in the demos yesterday. We saw that. And, rest in peace. It was horrible to watch. Good morning, Situation Room, tuned in from Kitale. That's Japheth Mumia. Azaria says, good morning, trio of spiced voices. Ndi, I think it's, I don't know. Now, I don't know if you are referring to Ndi or to me, but okay, all of us are here. If KKG, who is KKG, hears that your Mutura was sweet until you dreamt, then it will tax it come a double. So it is actually me that you're referring to. It's Ndu, NDU. Ndi is someone else, and he's actually in the KKG.
It was a typo.
Pascal Malindi is tuned in from Hong Kong. Tuko Pamoja, indeed. Good morning to the dynamic trio and Ednah. Misalimiwa. Ogana Jr. says, tuned in from Nairobi. Seems City is dancing from inside. Yeah, even at
that's correct.
Even at this moment. George Biketti is tuning from the shores of Lake Naivasha. And Dixon Orkesa says, good morning, tuning from Nairobi. Good morning to Eric and CT. Good morning, tuning from Kikuyu. From the central USA, William Joroge. Watching from Doha is Kivan Nyayo. And for the first time in Kenya, the presidency is a symbol of national shame and mockery. Allah! Zach, why no? Brenda Wamai says, things need to change. Chris Baraza says, good morning from Nairobi. Good morning, Spice Crew. Denver. Dr. Venvik is tuned in this morning. It's 50. It's going to be 50 degrees this morning in the UAE. 50 degrees. You could fry an egg on the tarmac. But they're wishing us a good morning all the same. We see you guys who've tuned in this morning, and we say thank you for joining us. Karibuni sana. Tena sana.
Wazi City. The proverb.
He who builds his own throne rules over a desert.
He who builds his own throne rules over a desert.
Yes, that's today's proverb.
Okay.
You know what you've done, Abi?
Hmm?
You know what you've done?
I've read the proverb.
You know what you've not done?
The proverb for the whole of this
Thank you very
from
much.
the country of Guinea.
Huh?
Okay?
Right.
Right? Now, the thing about Guinea is this. How are we doing so far?
Very well.
We okay?
Yes, yes.
All right. It has a population of 13 million people. Okay? And one of the things that characterizes Guinea is what you call a cacophony of coups. One coup after another after another.
Coup.
Yes. Otherwise known as coup d'etat.
Wow.
Well, that's what they've written. I know it's called coup d'etat.
Right.
But it's coup d'etat. That is how it is written. Yes. What I often wonder is, here you have French as the official language, and yet they have 24 indigenous languages.
Yeah.
24 to choose from. But here, French is the indigenous language. Aisuru. Yeah.
When you build your own throne.
Aisuru.
Aisuru.
Yes. Now let's get back to the proverb. When he who builds his own throne rules over a desert.
Okay. Good. Now you've done the thing.
Well done, CT. I of you am proud.
Bas.
Are we good?
Yes.
We are good, huh?
Headlines now.
All right, there's a joint editorial message from media in the country. Let's save our country. It's what's on the front page of the Standard. And there's a dove there, the symbol of peace. A joint commentary by editors of leading media houses. We see that on the Standard. We see that replicated on The Nation as well. Our democracy accommodates competitive politics, but it need not be confrontational. At the end of the day, we will live in one nation, sailing on the same boat. If it sinks, we all go down with it. None will be spared. It goes on to talk about the third wave of Azimio protests and what happened that day, which was yesterday. 5 dead as police engaged protesters. Raila's allies and aides among scores of demonstrators arrested. Schools and businesses paralyzed as people and students stay at home. Raila Azimio top brass a no-show. Catholic bishops want the Finance Act shelved. Rift, Mount Kenya, Northern Kenya and parts of Western largely calm. Ruto says we will protect lives and property. And according to this, top US trade official snubs courier again. On the front page of The Nation, a replication of this commentary by editors. At the end of the day, we will all live in one nation, sailing on the same boat. If it sinks, we will all go down with it. Nobody will be spared. Again, looking to the sentiments that come from President William Ruto, no to handshake. President Ruto says he's ready for talks on issues affecting Kenyans, but not on power sharing. Raila, Karua and Kalonzo were missing in action, but issued statements. We saw that it was 5 o'clock and everybody was asked to go home and prepare for today. Bishop's prayer, engage in dialogue, the Catholic clergy urge rival camps. We saw the joint statement from the Conference of Catholic Bishops yesterday. Deaths and injuries and arrests, protesters shot dead and others injured as scores put behind bars. On the back page of The Nation, smartphones crisis looms as taxman tightens the noose. La illa. And the government has set the date for the reclassification of parastatals in IMF reforms. You want to know what that means? We'll tell you in a bit.
Alrighty. The Business Daily, on page 13, there is that joint commentary by the editors of the Kenya's leading media houses. Let's save our country. On the front page of the Business Daily, US guarded on Kenya trade deal past AGOA 2025 expiry. The US is non-committal about when negotiations for a free trade deal with Kenya will be concluded, despite Nairobi earlier saying the talks would be finalized by December. The U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai, who concluded her 3-day tour in Nairobi yesterday, indicated the U.S. negotiators do not have a deadline on concluding talks or signing the proposed U.S.-Kenya Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership, STIP. Jesus. In terms of signature and when we will conclude, our focus right now is on substance as opposed to setting an actual deadline. That's what she said. Now, this thing is expiring in 2025. That's an actual deadline, Ms. Tai. But she says, well, our negotiators are looking at, substance of the talks. Higher, the other headline, NSE, banks, airlines and retailers feel protest heat after enduring 7 days of anti-government protests. Kenya's stock market yesterday took its first hit after it lost 20 billion shillings in investor wealth, joining a growing list of businesses, among them banks, airlines and supermarkets that are counting losses from maandamano. Ticker headline, how the taxman is cornering smartphone dealers in Kenya. The other headline is Eastleigh Mall wins 360 million shilling tax fight with KRA. CBK eyes 20 billion shillings from reopened bonds. City? Wapi Star.
Yeah.
Did you get it today?
I did.
Good.
I did. Top right-hand corner in Till Green. Demonstrations, mayhem. Catholic bishops speak out against police brutality during protests. This is a story on page 2. Okay, then at the bottom of the paper, before I get to that,
Top.
Yes. Foreign Affairs CS Mutua blasts UN over protests death count. This one I have to read. Foreign Affairs CS Alfred Mutua yesterday blasted the international community, accusing it of meddling in Kenya's internal affairs. The dispute was sparked off by United Nations statement saying some 23 Kenyans have lost their lives on the ongoing anti-government protests.
So what is
Have 23 Kenyans lost their lives? And counting.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's save our country. Editorial joint comment. This is yet another story, and this is on page 17. Then bang in the middle, there is a standoff. And they're saying stand still. Raila aides arrested. Chaos reigns. Businesses paralyzed across the country as police engage protesters on day 1 of 3-day demos. 5 civilians shot as police arrest ODM leaders. This story is on page 4 and 5. For me, this is deja vu. This is something that has happened before.
Yeah.
And it's almost letter by letter. The only difference was that in a time gone by, one found that people had been arrested. They were just piling them on top of the others. And this is what led now to the protest by the mothers of people who had either died or people who were in detention. In those days, the law allowed the president to detain you.
Yeah.
So this, not new. And so the outcome of it also, not new. Yes.
Wacha tuone bwana. 27 minutes to 7. Let's take this break and you tell us about traffic and then you'll tell us about that editorial or whatever other story you want to tell us. So, okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Another day of actually very little traffic on these streets. Nothing really going on Jogo Road, and that would be your pointer. Jogo Road, nothing happening at all as you go towards Landis. Landis is free and clear, and touching on Kamkunji at the roundabout, that you'll be fine. The little junctions on Huru Highway, as you get in from the Nyayo Stadium Junction, then you get to the Bunyala Road Junction, then out towards Haile Selassie. You'll see a little bit of movement there as folks wait for oncoming traffic to then get out towards the CBD. But apart from that, you'll find nothing. The Thika Superhighway, nothing at all. And coming off of Muthaiga at the junction with Limuru Road and then in towards Muthaiga Square, you're also fine. You'll be in the city in no time. We're also looking at traffic coming out of Westlands, and we can't find it because it's not there. North Airport Road is also flying free and clear through towards Outer Ring at the junction and then towards the Eastern Bypass. So it's another day of it seems little traffic on the roads. It's something that we'll take a look at in a short while and see how that progresses. Let us know what's going on, what's popping where you are. Talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Editorial commentary and some of the things that we have seen yesterday. So there's quite some coverage that has been given to that. But media houses came together yesterday and said, look, we have to be the ones to then say, come on, let us not look into this. Looking at some of the headlines, Azimio top brass missing in action as police take on protesters. Transport paralyzed, several injured as police engage city residents. In that buzz phrase, running battles. Ruto 2 uses state security to tame rivals. And that's also something coming out there. And Nyanza, 1 dead, more than 10 in hospital with gunshot wounds. Then we see the Catholic bishops want the Finance Act repealed. They want the lowering of taxes, the lowering of fuel prices, the whole act to be suspended. And the question then comes out and says, look, this is our country. If it sinks, we're all sinking. Nobody will be spared because guess what? We're all in the same boat. So everybody's coming out and saying, look, if people need to talk, let them talk. If things need to be lowered, let them be lowered. If egos need to be put aside, let them be put aside. But this, what we saw yesterday, and the likelihood of escalation into the future cannot be accommodated anymore. I want to look at a particular story here when it talks about transport paralyzed and several injured as police engage city residents in running battles. And the whole city, essentially the whole country was at a standstill. Children were not in school. Businesses had closed. Public service vehicles had been parked on the side of the road. Nobody was really going anywhere. And so you have to ask your question, what happens in a situation like that? Obviously, money is lost. And not that somebody stole it, but that because the economy is not nothing is circulating through the economy, then counties will go at a loss. So that is where it comes in. Azimio top brass missing in action as police take on protesters. The Azimio La Umoja, one Kenyan leadership, stayed away from the anti-government demonstrations yesterday, keeping Kenyans guessing about their game plan, even as police hunt for them hit a dead end. However, some Azimio leaders were not lucky. A number of allies of opposition chief Raila Odinga were arrested, even as the leaders termed day one of demos a huge success. For weeks, Azimio leaders had kept the operations under wraps, with police chasing ruses. Yesterday, the Azimio top brass were missing in action, with their supporters nonetheless heeding their call to protest high cost of living. Raila has this week maintained a low profile, with his most recent social media post made on Monday when he promised a game-changing mandamano. The post features an image of the former Prime Minister in a boardroom meeting with Azimio lawmakers. As questions over his whereabouts swirled all over social media, a video clip of him playing Ajua with peers went viral online. It was not established whether the clip was recorded yesterday. It could have been a while ago. During last week's demos, Raila also went missing, surfacing to issue a press statement at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation in Nairobi. The unpredictability of the ODM leaders' movement had police chasing shadows in the initial wave of Azimio protests, only showing up to disperse crowds that had gathered. So that was a question that was looming in the minds of people yesterday. Where's Raila Odinga? Where is the earth-shaking, moving demonstration protest? Was the silence and non-movement of anything yesterday in itself a protest? That's the question. That's what the story's talking about.
None of them came out, the leaders of Azimio. Probably it was part of their strategy.
This is it. So was that the protest? That you keep things quiet, you keep things not moving, children are not in school, businesses have not opened, you don't see any movement really, and folks are afraid to come out. Was that the demonstration?
And then there are still people who come out. So basically what you're sending the message is, we don't have to be the ones who are out there. It's a message here is that people have grievances.
And they're going to come out.
And they'll come out to air their grievances. This mandamano is not about Raila or Martha Karua. We don't have to be the ones on the streets. It could be that. Oh, maybe it was something else. Maybe. So that headline, it's a good one. I also look at what Charles Onyango Obo has written today in an opinion piece on page 13 of the Daily Nation. Militancy molds Kenyan politics. He talks about the way last week's Maandamano appeared to have various organizers across the country. Right? In various towns, there were groups of people who came out to protest. There were Matatu people who did their thing at the bus stops. There were transport people. There were other groups that were coming out to air their grievances. And what Charles Nyango is saying It presented both an opportunity and a risk. It seemed to offer Azimio an easy path to grow its protest beyond the election grievances action that they started out as into a big tent movement that has which mops up the cost of living issues that have sharpened over the past 7 months. It could marginalize the Azimio leadership and hand the ownership of the demonstrations to more militant actors, at least at the grassroots, and burden Azimio with an image of being reckless. That is only one of the backstories of the protests, as this week arrived to a call by Azimio to have 3 days of protests beginning yesterday, and reports that President Ruto had called on ruling UDA loyalists and politicians to stage counter pro-government protests. So basically, Onyango is saying, this is the kind of militancy is what breeds and brings out crops of leaders. If you look at the ones that we have right now, the ones who have appeared to be more militant and all are the ones who more vocal on the streets end up in positions of leadership. So this one could also breed, this series of protests are likely to also breed a new crop of leaders.
Indeed.
And show us, so what is the future going to look like? You see, these guys are living. Raila, Kalonzo, Musalia, Uhuru is out, Ruto will be out. Once they leave, who takes over?
Who's taking over?
Who's coming out to occupy that slot?
He has a point. He has a point, because as you were speaking, my mind went back to 1982. Yes. There was a coup attempt in Kenya. It wasn't the first one. There had been others. But this one was memorable. And people had heard of Raila Odinga, but he was of no significance. Because his father...
He was Jaramogi's son.
That was it. There was nothing more to it. But he was arrested. It was alleged then that he was part and parcel of the coup attempt. Now thereafter, Raila's voice kept being heard. Rather, let me say, his deeds kept being seen. Now, but he wasn't alone. Where Charles Onyango Obo's article rings true is that, let me give the example of a football match or sports. I've always found this to be an interesting phenomenon, because I have observed there are eras when you find, whether it is a sport, you find a plethora of people who just emerge, and it's like a season for brilliance.
Yep.
And there are many of them. And you can even count, and it doesn't mean that, let's say, football doesn't come from one country. They're all over the place. But you recognize, then you look at the era of boxing, of Muhammad Ali. It wasn't just Muhammad Ali who was. There were many. There was Frazier, there was Foreman, there was Norton, there was a whole, and then in the lower ranks, there was Sugar Ray, there was Duran, okay? There were all these boxers who came out. Now, when you come into politics, by the time President Kenyatta and President Moi was referring to Koigwa, Mwere, Anyona, the 7 bearded sisters, it means there were 7 people who were
taking the
position. A thorn in his flesh.
Yes. Saying the same thing, same rhetoric, but they were all born out of this era when, first of all, opposing the government was considered suicidal, but these guys didn't seem to give a damn. That's precisely what they did. Okay. Now, we are in an era where we are seeing police brutality starting to equal the police brutality of those days. Because in those days, you would get arrested, killed, you disappear, and that was the end of that story.
Nobody's asking questions, nobody's giving explanation.
Asking who exactly?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think the Nya torture chambers story came out? Why do you think people had to be compensated? Because the torture chambers existed, and it was that era when people were actually tortured. Now, why I said for me, there's this deja vu feeling. People being arrested. It appears someone has decided to experiment on something that happened in a time gone by. This experiment was done. It was widespread. Multipartyism came in, and that experiment came to an end. But it appears the spirit of that experiment never really went. It was always lingering somewhere in the horizon.
Yep.
And now it appears to be back. So a situation that in my mind could have been settled differently has to take this route where now we are seeing violence. Now the problem is, violence will beget violence. That is the problem. And in this process, people who are completely and absolutely innocent will be injured or they will be dead.
As we've seen.
And we will forget those who will be mourning their dead. We will forget those who are injured. And we'll even forget what it was that people died for and why people were protesting. The very situation that we're in is what all those protests in the time gone by were for. They were saying, we don't want this sort of thing. And now we are back at it again.
Yeah, they were just saying it. They didn't mean it. They didn't. They are now in leadership, all right? This crop of leaders that I've just mentioned have been the ones in leadership for the last 20 years.
More even.
Okay? Let's just look at the 20. Okay, 21. If you just start with 2002. This crop of leaders. Post-election violence happened in this country. People were killed over these kind of things too. Same.
Starts off.
Yeah. But those at the helm of leadership have never really demonstrated intent to pursue justice for that. In fact, they come out to blatantly say, let's forget about those things. Let those bygones be bygones. In other words, the people who died, those 1,000 plus, the people who were displaced, the people who got maimed, the people who live with scars, to date, wazoe waendelee na maisha because they got their political settlement. The names, that doesn't matter. An attempt to pursue justice through the local courts, even for the individual perpetrators, it started, it was quelled. Finish, move on. 2013, 2017, the violence that happened. After handshake, after peace deal, after we move on a couple of months, everybody just says, it's okay. I mean, yeah, baby Pendo, yeah, you know. It was very bad. It was very bad. And we move on. These ones who've died so far, 20 plus, right?
Yep.
Basically, let's just prepare to forget them. If we look at our leaders.
If you look at the trends that we've had in the past.
Yes. And if we were to depend on the same group of leaders, that's it. It's collateral. They're dying. Yeah. It's a small price to pay. This is it. We move. Now there's all these calls for let's talk. There's push. Let's talk. It's all heading towards the same eventuality. We all know where this is heading. There's going to be some sort of a truce. That truce will not say, let's look back and see what happened.
And let's see how we can make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, there will be nothing like that. This talk of, we want electoral justice will not be pursued. Electoral reforms, they will not be pursued. It'll be something, some mop up, let's constitute IEBC together and move on. The thing of police and reforming police and ensuring that police reforms actually take place the way they were intended to take place will not pick up momentum.
They will actually form one more police oversight body.
Yes.
That'll be, and the problem in their minds will have been solved because that body has been formed.
Yep. The names of the individuals who had died, those people who were shot yesterday, anybody who got shot yesterday may never walk again. That's it. They will.
Will you even remember the names?
Forget it. Move on. These group of leaders for whom we are looking and expecting direction, to whom we are looking and expecting that, they will not give it. They don't intend to. So as we're pushing and fighting for and saying, let's change these things, they did not necessarily need change. They didn't want that change to be, that way. They would just want to change so that it can be convenient for them to be able to get into the positions of power.
If they wanted
Once they
change,
get there, move on.
There would have been change.
Yes.
Once again, I quote the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. Love him, hate him. What that man has done to change his country, you can see. You do not need to be you don't need to be a clairvoyant. It is clear. The country has changed. Now you may say what you like about the rule of law, but it works. I'm speaking as someone who's been to that country on many occasions. My friend, you can walk in the town, you can walk in Kigali at any time without even thinking. The issue of your phone will be stolen, you will be mugged, doesn't arise. It simply doesn't. Now that is the example of a leader who brought up, not talked about change, brought about change. Eric,
He did.
Let me read this article of
Read it.
And this one, I am not going to comment. I'll read it and I'll let our listeners and viewers determine to themselves what it is they think. Mutua blasts UN over protests death count, accusing it of meddling. Foreign Affairs CS Alfred Mutua on Wednesday blasted the international community, accusing it of meddling in Kenya's internal affairs and inflating the demonstration death count. The dispute was sparked by a United Nations statement saying 23 Kenyans had lost their lives in the ongoing anti-government protests. In a statement on Friday, UN Human Rights Office spokesman Jeremy Lawrence said 23 people had lost their lives in demonstrations in the past week and dozens were injured. But Mutua rejected that statement and accused the UN spokesman of spreading propaganda and engaging in bad manners. He did not give his tally of deaths at the hands of the police and others. At a press conference yesterday, local media reports say police shot dead at least 9 people last week, with at least 2 more people killed on Wednesday this week. Mutua also said there was no widespread violence and said police did not use disproportionate force despite the deaths. This one I have to comment. So people were just walking along the street and they just collapsed and died.
There was no disproportionate force. Yeah.
It is therefore unfortunate the UN issued a statement on protests in some parts of Kenya in which it alleged widespread violence and unnecessary or disproportionate use of force. He, Lawrence, alleged that 23 people have been killed and dozens injured in the demonstrations. This statement was not only inaccurate but misleading and appeared to have been written in support of propaganda campaign by people who oppose the democratic will of the people. Mutua said, Eric, you're right. He is quoting the democratic will of the people. It is their will to get killed. It is their will to get shot.
So what's his angst, Mutua? That the numbers are not correct. Is one
that the UN
that the UN has misquoted and is spreading propaganda with false numbers. All right, let me ask a question then.
His beef is that statement from the UN Human Rights is misrepresenting the situation. It's taking an issue and making it appear larger than it is.
Okay, how much better should the death of a Kenyan sound?
In everything that was reported by the UN.
Let it sound like one death.
Yes.
If it's one, it's one.
If it's one, it's okay.
You know,
not Kenyans have died.
Okay.
But they were all Kenyans who died.
If it is one, don't say Kenyans.
But there were Kenyans who died.
Kenyan.
If it is one, it's one.
I should stop saying Kenyans. Just refer to this Kenyan as one.
One Kenyan died.
One Kenyan died. And then, so if there are 7, so every time I say one Kenyan died, then another one Kenyan died. Then another one Kenyan died.
So
don't say widespread violence when there's no widespread. What is widespread?
Oh, hey.
In the entire vastness of Kenya.
Yes. What is widespread violence?
Yes.
All right. Disproportionate violence. I should not say disproportionate.
You should not say disproportionate force.
I should say that they were killed by stray bullets.
Well.
Because they were shot.
Yes.
And they couldn't stop the bullet. So
but it was not disproportionate.
It was not disproportionate.
I see.
So the person who was shot and killed maybe then had an opportunity to defend themselves.
There was a reason for the officer to open fire.
Yeah.
Yes. And this person also had an opportunity to avoid being shot.
Right, or to do something to counter the being
And
shot.
even after they had been shot, they had an opportunity to resurrect. Isn't that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're being like the UN people. That's how they
That's propaganda.
That's propaganda now.
I see. So what should I do? Walk out of the studio and put a sufri on my head?
Yes. That may work better.
That may work better.
A biting shortage of smartphones is looming following a crackdown by the government on cargo consolidation and a weak shilling, which has pushed the cost of importing the gadgets through the roof, even as some sellers shift sales to neighboring countries. The Kenya Revenue Authority on the 1st of June started 100% verification of imports to enable the payment of tax based on transaction value of the cargo as opposed to the rate of 200 per kilogram. See, that is what used to happen. People used to go to those countries where they're importing from, and if you don't have enough cargo to fill up a container, you consolidate, right? So my goods plus Ndu's goods plus City's goods together get into a container. All right, then it gets to the port of Mombasa. We weigh the container. How heavy is the container? It's 2 tons. Then you charge per 2 tons. Now, KRA said, all right, you see, now this is disproportionate because some of the items in that container attract different tax rates.
Yes.
There are some that attract higher rates than others. Now, if we remove the items and then look at, so what do you have? Smartphones. Those ones attract X kind of tax. What do you have? Unga. Unga is 0 rated. What do you have? like that, then KRA actually gets the tax that it's due to the country. The move has taken that heavy toll on thousands of small-scale traders of consumer goods such as second-hand clothes, mobile phones, electronics and other household items, as they now have to pay more to clear their cargo. It's important to note that undeclared or concealed items are assessed and subjected to additional taxes. KRA continues to address issues of concealment and undeclared items through ports of entry. Smartphone dealers are emerging as one of the biggest losers of this new tax regime, as they are now having to pay far higher tax rates based on the transaction value of the gadgets. In an interview with NTV, KRA Acting Commissioner General Rispa Simiyu said the tax agency had found that importers are concealing smartphones as feature phones to evade paying the requisite tax. Nasema hii ni mulika mwizi tu, hii ni mulika mwizi. Kumbe it's iPhone 15. Hey. Feature phones are among goods whose tax rate has been maintained at 200 per kg. So she said, one example is an item that was cleared and duty was paid of about 85,000 shillings. But subsequently, as a result of the 100% verification, an additional duty of 700,000 shillings was collected. Imagine the initial tax that had been paid was 85k. Because it was a container, go 85,000, but open, you find this thing, it's taxed. It was actually 700,000 shillings that KRA had lost on just that. So there's a catch-22 here.
Sure. Will I bring and be charged heavily, or do I change it and?
Yeah, do we say that the people who are suffering are the smartphones importers because now they have to pay exorbitantly high?
Okay.
Or should we say that the government was losing out on tax revenue because smartphone importers were paying exorbitantly low?
Exorbitantly low.
Yeah.
True. Do you have time to tell you something else?
Yes.
All right. In Nakuru, things don't look too good, and that's at the hospital. And that's Nakuru County, right? Staff at the Naivasha Level 4 hospital say the facility has been struggling with drugs and staff shortage, as well as spoilt equipment. Babies dying, patients poorly fed amid negligence at hospital. Members of the County Assembly Health Committee came face to face with what they described as a pathetic state of Naivasha Level 4 hospital following a prolonged public outcry over poor services. They were left dumbfounded when a nurse revealed they were losing at least 20 babies due to lack of incubators and medication. During a tour of the facility, ward reps learned that up to 4 premature babies were sharing one incubator after the others broke down. Workers admitted that the equipment broke down months ago, while at the pharmacy, the last dispatch was received in November 2022. The MCAs were further told that the hospital was struggling to feed its patients. Besides lack of basic medical equipment, the facility faces acute shortage of staff, while suppliers have been pulled out due to non-payment of services rendered. Some critical departments like maternity, laboratory and theatres are being manned by one nurse despite the rising number of patients seeking services. The management admitted that they faced an acute challenge of funding which threatened to ground services. The superintendent in charge, Bernard Waroi, said the facility owes suppliers more than 300 million shillings.
Wow.
He said patients were getting a basic meal of maize and beans as they could not afford anything else. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
This is not good.
Which hospital is this again?
This is Naivasha Level 4 hospital.
This hospital has been in the news this
for
week.
a while.
Yeah.
For a couple of days.
Yeah. And it's a big issue. And I don't know. I've not heard some proper response from the county government itself.
No.
I mean, sheesh.
She's not said anything about that yet.
Hiya. Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, we have a Justice Thursday conversation. The judge of the Employment and Labour Relations Court. This court is celebrating 10 years with an annual symposium that's been on from Monday at the KICC. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Day schools in Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu reopened today despite protests called by Azimio leader Raila Odinga. A statement from the Interior and Education Ministry say adequate security will be put in place to guarantee the safety of learners. The government had ordered schools closed in Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu due to the street protest over the high cost of living. Odinga has announced that the protest will proceed today as planned. Odinga confirmed that his bodyguard, Maurice Ogeta, had been freed by police and called for the release of at least 9 Azimio leaders arrested during Wednesday's protest. Those arrested include Embakasi East MP Babu Owino, Kilifi Senator Stewart Banzayo, among others. Now, engagement between the police and anti-government protesters is expected today as the demos enter the second day as directed by opposition leader, and they continue to demand that their grievances be heard. Reports indicate that 6 people died yesterday after being shot by police officers. 2 were allegedly killed in Nairobi, 1 in Makueni, Kisumu, Migori and Nakuru counties respectively. Meanwhile, 12 people were injured in Migori County, 9 in Nakuru County, 5 in Nyeri County, 9 in Kisumu County, 1 in Kibra and 2 in Mathare here in Nairobi. The government says that police arrested more than 300 people who will be arraigned in court.
Wamepiga kijana mwingine risasi. Inatakana hatua ichukuliwe. Yani tunaumia sisi wa Kenya. Hata mtoto ameuliwa. Mtoto wangu amekuwa kwa plot wanapiga hadi nini? Wanapiga hadi tear gas kwa plot ndani.
Despite the protest and running battles with the police yesterday, Azimio has continued to maintain that demos will continue today. In a statement, Azimio announced change of venue and asked their supporters to converge in Huruma, Kangemi and Central Business District instead of Jacaranda and Kamkunji. Azimio's position comes at a time the Catholic bishops say that they are ready to mediate a truce between President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga, led by Bishop Martin Kivuva. The bishops have also said that their previous efforts to bring the two together haven't been successful, but are hopeful that they will manage to bring the two together.
Given the circumstance of the week and what is going on to happening today, we did not succeed meeting them face to face. However, we are ready, prepared. We have a system, we're just waiting for that openness. But we also do understand the stress they're going through at this particular moment.
On his part, President William Ruto has emphasized that he is ready for talks, but only if it's about issues affecting Kenyans and not about sharing the government.
Hatuna shida na kuongea na mtu yeyote, so long as tunaongea mambo ya wananchi. Mambo ya kugawana mamlaka, wananchi wanaamua siku ya kura. Mnataka tufanye mambo ya handshake tena na hao watu? Mumekataa mambo ya handshake. Hebu niole wana wanasema hakuna handshake dunia hii.
The president's statements come at a time Kenya Kwanza leaders led by his deputy Rigathi Gachagua insist that they are ready to protect the government they won.
Watu wengine wanasema ati awalie serikali nusu. Kunaweza kubali? Waende wakiendanga. Kazi yangu na huyo Kimani Ichung'wa na Ndede na hao watu wajumbe ni kulida uongozi na ushindi wetu. Ninataka tuendelee. So hiyo watu wanataka kutafuta rais pale Ikulu, nimeweka mtego kila pahali, hakuna pahali wanaweza bidhia.
It should be noted that ambassadors of the United States and European Union have called for dialogue between the government and the opposition in order to reach an agreement. But just where is opposition leader Raila Odinga? Well, his daughter Winnie Odinga has come out to allay fears about his whereabouts amid rising curiosity after he skipped Wednesday's anti-government protest. Winnie Odinga responded to a Twitter user Wednesday evening stating that, as a matter of fact, that the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya appointment is doing well. Winnie went ahead to add that she had spoken to the former premier and he had nagged about going to the gym. However, speculation hit social media Wednesday after the Azimio leader uncharacteristically skipped the anti-government protest. The opposition chief, who Monday announced on Twitter handle that the 3-day protest will kick off Wednesday, was nowhere to be seen as his supporters poured to the streets to take part in the demonstrations. And former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga has been arrested by police. His lawyer Ndegwa Njiru says Maina was arrested while in Lower Matasia in Ngong and taken to an undisclosed location. The family says he was in his father's house when the police in unmarked cars arrived at around 8 p.m. and arrested him. The team said they wanted to question him over ongoing anti-government protests in the country. It is not clear what motivated the police to target Njenga. His lawyer says that they are yet to know where he was taken. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
All right, looking at Uhuru Highway, and probably that's the most of it that we'll see this morning, at least for now. Not much movement on Jogo Road, and we're not going to see anything coming out of the northern part of the city, at least not for now. It looks like another day of minimal traffic on the roads. Getting into the CBD also from the southern side of the city, Langata Road looks pretty good. We're not seeing much traffic coming here either. All right, let's look through it through the morning. What might be happening where you are this morning? Do let us know and talk to us on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
At 7 on this 20th day of July 2023. This is the second hour of The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Live on Spice FM, also on KTN Home. A very good morning to you if you're just joining us, even if you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, where we live stream the show every weekday morning. Welcome to Thursday. It's a Justice Thursday conversation, and we have a judge joining us in The Situation Room. As we welcome him, let's remind you about today also being Thursday. It's a Faithless Thursday, episode 3.
Indeed, episode 3 of Faithless. It's Showmax's latest original title dropped today. What are the intrigues going to be? What is going to unfold? Who's going to be found or called out in this crime drama series? Showmax.com is where you can find out all about this. Log on, subscribe, and watch.
Indeed. The Honorable Justice Ocharo Kebira is the judge of the Employment and Labour Relations Court. He's our guest today. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you, Fan.
That's the hot seat of The Situation Room.
Sure.
The last judge we had in this Situation Room was just 2 weeks ago, and it was also a judge of the Employment and Labour Relations Court. And we were looking forward to the symposium that we've been holding this week at the KICC. 10 years of the Employment and Labour Relations Court as a superior court.
Sure.
Hey, Your Lordship. Munasikia vizuri sana.
Yeah. It's been a milestone.
Yes.
Yes.
To welcome you to the conversation, CT has the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Guinea. Guinea-Conakry, as it's sometimes referred to. We are quick to say it is not Guinea-Bissau, neither is it
Equatorial Guinea.
Neither is it
Papua New Guinea.
Precisely. Yes, this
is it Guinea Fowl.
This is the Republic of Guinea. Yes. Now, a proverb for the day: he who builds his own throne rules over a desert.
He who builds his own throne rules over a desert.
Yes.
My lord, this proverb from Guinea, what's your interpretation of it?
My God, I understand you teach proverbs here.
Now that is not only new, it's rich.
Kabisa.
We teach proverbs.
Okay, this I get it. When we talk of creating a throne, I'm looking at the bearer of the throne, the king. So you cannot be a king minus people around you and supporting your activities, supporting your leadership. Otherwise, if you don't have that, then the throne crumbles.
And what's the significance of them saying, he who builds his own throne?
Yeah, you can't do it alone. It has to be through support of people. There has to be people-driven. Yes, that's how I look at it.
True.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at monarchies, yes, there are people who declared themselves king. There are those who deposed others. But you, as his lordship says, you had to have support. You couldn't do it on your own. You may have led. You may even feel that your rulership was ordained by the Almighty God, but there's a support system which has to be given to you by people. Otherwise, this whole process crumbles. It doesn't make sense. Yes.
Indeed. Judge, how long have you been at the Employment and Labor Relations Court?
I am in that group that was nominated in 2019, but unfortunately sworn in 2.5 years in 2021. So I'm very, can we say 1.5 years? Yes.
But that's 1.5 years of serious and intense work. Yes. But before that, having, been an advocate, having been somebody who's practiced law and an officer of the court, you knew the challenges that this court has been going through. And even from the elevation of just it being a department in the labor ministry now to becoming a superior court, it's a big milestone. When you applied to join this court, why did you do it?
First, I must say that, in life, you reach a situation where you say you want to serve society in this forum, not the other forum. I had been in practice for like 21 years. So I thought I had amassed enough experience and, my spirit was telling me you're better off serving in judiciary so that, Kenyans are served. And besides doing degree in law, I have a master's in human resource management, and maybe that was one of the factors also that attracted me to this court, because human resource and employment and labor law are like twins conjoined at the hip.
That's indeed true. Yeah. When you joined, you found a number of judges who were working really day and night, resolving the disputes that have been brought before them for adjudication. And how has it been for you since you joined in 2021?
Yeah, it's been busy, it's been hectic, and considering we came in this court, a court with lots of cases pending, huge backlogs. In a sense, it was understaffed, having like only 9 judges, delivering justice throughout the nation. That was a big and heavy burden on them. It ends the backlog that we got. Yes, but I can't say so far so good. We are doing well. We are trying to reduce backlog. Yeah, and you realize like the year 2021, 2022, our clearance rate was high at 161%, and we were rated the best. Yeah.
So you're marking 10 years of the Employment and Labor Relations Court. There's been a symposium going on at the KICC, and we've been announcing it this week. It's also being broadcasting on TV and live streaming. What exactly has been happening at KICC?
Yep. In a nutshell, we were interacting with the consumers of justice in the area of employment and reparations trying to get their feedback, legitimate feedback on what we are doing best, what we are not doing good. We were also trying to, promote awareness as regards the role this court plays, because most people think that our court is a court of employees, not employers. A serious misconception. Again, this area of employment and labor relations is an area which keeps on evolving day in, day out. So, sharing best experiences and practices. Comparing, and sharing jurisprudence emerging in the several areas that are just coming up. Yeah.
The issues to do with labor relations, if I simply reflect on my experience, it often has more to do with how human beings respond to situations than matters to do with labor. I'm going to explain what I mean. Someone enters employment and they usually sign a contract, or there's some document they sign to sort of like ratify the terms and conditions of the work they do. Then a disagreement arises, and the point of discussion will be that document that was signed. But in signing a document, in my mind, what we seem to be declaring is a state or a situation of mutual mistrust. Because if we speak and agree, and we undertake that what we agree on is true, then why do we need to write it? Why do we need something? Or why do we have to make it a document when our laws also recognize that you can agree verbally and it can be binding? So I'm saying it has to do with human relationships. It has to do with how we human beings respond to things and the unlikely interpretation and understanding of our nature. Meaning, you can think a human being will conduct themselves in this way, and yet they will do something that you completely hadn't anticipated. So it's like you need a structure within which you can actually now adjudicate this. Now, to my question. In the time that you've been in the Labor Relations Court, what would you say is the preeminent, or what are the preeminent issues that are brought before you? What are the things you see more often than others?
Okay, I think predominantly issues of unfair termination. Unfair termination in a sense that, as you say, people tend not to, stick to the terms and conditions set forth in the contracts of employment. People tend not to follow the laid down statutory procedures for conducting themselves within the working environment. Yeah, and at the end of the day, we get cases of unfair termination. Yeah, and those form the bulk of the work that we do.
And do you find a situation where the terminations do pan out as being not unfortunate, but as being unfair?
Yes. More often than not, I can say.
There are those who've argued, I am one of them, that our labor laws are skewed to support the employee. Meaning, the likelihood of an employer winning a case against an employee are really slim.
I think, to be fair, those ones who argue like you are arguing are those ones who are stuck in the pre-2007 legal regime. Before the 2007 legal regime that we have in the employment and labor relations realm,
yes,
was the common law, principles, where it's like the employer held immense power and authority over an employee, so that the new regime came in with what I call expansive protections and rights, in favor of an employee to countenance this authority and power that, the employer used to have pre that period. And we should not also forget that the new constitution came in with labor rights, which weren't in the pre-2010 constitution. So really, it's a radical shift that has been in this realm of employment and labor relations, which most people don't seem to appreciate.
So
hence the narrative that you're giving.
So over time, then, essentially, do we see that the need for individuals now to have some kind of justice when it comes to, any kind of, issues that may have gone on during their employment, the court has then provided a place whereby those desires or those needs then can be met, whereas before that there was no one?
I think, if I get you well, before then, we used to operate in a very different realm, more than we are operating now. The current position is that the law and the constitution is more sensitive to both the employer and the employee. Yes. And now giving the court, the authority to really protect the employees who suffered for a long, long, long time before the new laws.
Judge, the strategy of the Chief Justice is social transformation through access to justice.
Yes.
And among the things that you're marking as you in this year's symposium is how this court is expanding access to justice. Now, various other judges that we've hosted on this show have talked about alternative dispute resolution mechanisms and various high courts and even the magistracy seeking a lot of ADR. Is there a way that people come to your court and you actually send them to alternative dispute resolution?
Yes, and I think that's one of the strategies that we are employing to try to create backlog. It's a constitutional imperative. It's one of those, dispute resolution systems provided for in the Constitution. And because the Constitution gives that, we are bound to refer matters which can be adjudicated in that process to that process.
Like which ones?
Matters which you think do not require lots of expertise. You look at a file like this, look at the claim, look at the response, and you form an impression that it's a simple matter that can be dealt with through, mediation.
Is there an example that you can give us, maybe in your time at the court, where matter has been brought before you?
Yes.
You've looked at it, you've looked at the parties, you've looked at what they've submitted, and you've advised them to go through ADR.
Oh, yeah. For instance, where you are handling a matter to do with and fair termination, you look at the facts presented through pleadings. Check on the aspect of procedural fairness. Check on the aspect of substantive justification for, let's say, the termination or dismissal. And you form an impression that indeed procedural fairness was not followed. There was no notification to the employee of the grounds forming the basis for the intention to dismiss. There was no, hearing given to this employee. There was no, consideration of any representations he made, if at all he did. And maybe you find that out of somebody just looked at the employee and said, I don't like your face, and you have to quit.
Yeah.
That cannot be a valid reason. And looking at that, and you're forming an impression that basically here, the dismissal was unfair. You just refer this matter to mediation because it's a faster way of dealing with the issue. Yeah. Instead of, taking evidence and taking 2 months to do a judgment of such a simple matter which you think is clear that there was an unfair dismissal or termination.
So do those make up a bulk of the cases that come to the Employment and Labour Relations Court? Those who are coming seeking some kind of compensation for unfair dismissal or reinstatement, do those make up the larger percentage of the cases that come?
Yeah. As I said, they form like 60% of what we do.
All right.
Yep.
Now, what are we looking at for a lot of these individuals who are coming before the court? Are they looking for reinstatement? Are they looking for some kind of, compensatory hand that's being dealt out? And then how then is it determined that this individual either is compensated or then the office is asked to bring them back? Whereas I realize that if they left under any kind of, acrimonious circumstances, asking that individual to come back into a place of employment then might be jumping from frying pan into fire.
Yeah, litigants come to court for various remedies. And what remedy you accord as a court is heavily dependent on the circumstances of each case. For example, one of the remedies, recognized by law, the Employment Act under Section 49 of that Act, Employment Act, is reinstatement. An award of reinstatement to an employee who has been unfairly terminated is discretionary. You have to consider various factors. For instance, after the dismissal, what period has lapsed up to the time you are making your determination. If it's beyond 3 years, again, there is a limitation. You cannot give that remedy. Again, you have to consider whether it's practicable, for you to tell the employee to get back to work. Is that work environment going to be conducive for him to work? Is that order really in accord with what we normally push for, harmony at the place of work? Yeah, so if you find like before you left the environment was very toxic, then you cannot make an order for reinstatement. Yes. So yes, it depends on the circumstances of each case.
You talked about a matter maybe being simple enough to go towards mediation. Usually, is it something that maybe you need a little bit more time to iron out, or you say, look, this is not necessary for us to bring it here, go towards mediation, then essentially the court is satisfied or would recommend that it goes for mediation instead of staying within the walls of the court? But the question then would be, if they do go for mediation, having been recommended by the court, we know that the outcome of mediation then is the outcomes of mediation are essentially as steadfast as a court ruling, right? If they are not satisfied with mediation, do you ever see circumstances whereby they would say, this cannot work, it has to come back to the court, and this was something that was then referred by the court in the first place?
Yeah, we have seen situations where, you refer matter to mediation, and when the parties get to the mediator, they don't agree. So, in a mediation process, the outcome is supposed to come from the parties themselves. So if they don't agree, then there's no agreement. The best the mediator can do is to do what we call a certificate of no agreement, then return the file back to court so that the court proceeds to adjudicate over the matter.
In such instances, you're a human being.
Yes.
You're the judge who referred this matter to alternative dispute resolution. You told them, go for mediation, because I'm looking at facts that you've presented here and I think you can resolve this matter. Then the mediator tells you, these people have been unable to resolve this matter, to agree. They come back to you as a human being. Do you now look at me and say, okay, now let me see The one who's a hard head here, I'm going to show them. And unajifanya kichwa ngumu unakataa kusikiza.
No. Such factors should not bear an influence on how a church operates. Yes, yours is to render justice, looking at the facts, the evidence, and the documents presented before you. Yeah, those are extraneous matters which you should not allow to sink into your head to influence your decision.
But then would you want to dig deeper into finding out what exactly is it that is making these two parties not agree? Now you may want to look at the strictness of the letter of the law, but there's something deeper here, Judge. The reason that these two parties are not agreeing, it goes beyond the letter of the law. It's something more personal. Are you inclined to want to find out what exactly is going on here? Why are you people digging in on a matter that you clearly could be resolving?
Now, in our adversarial system, where you have to make a determination on material presented before you by Mr. X, the claimant, and Madam Y, the respondent, you just confine yourself to the pleadings, to the evidence present before you, and to submissions made by counsel, if any. Then render your decision. Don't go, searching, fishing for
waterfalls.
Those other things that are penned outside there before the mediator. Otherwise, your minds will be crowded.
What I'm basically hearing you say is that you had given them the opportunity the first time when you sent them for mediation and told them, go resolve your personal disputes. And now if they're unable to, now they come here, they basically better be prepared. You are going to look at the law, you will apply the law. And the one who the law finds has erred here will face the consequences.
Yeah, and they should be ready to face that reality that the matter will take a longer period to be determined than it could have been if they had embraced the mediation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take this break first. 28 minutes to 8. Kenya's biggest conversation is hosting the Honorable Justice Ocharo Kibira from the Employment and Labor Relations Court. The ELRC is marking 10 years since it was elevated into a superior court, and they are holding a symposium. They've been holding a symposium at the KICC since Monday. We are talking about the progress of the court and the importance that this court has in resolving labor disputes. Ndu?
Yeah.
Tell us about Colgate.
Now,
tell the judge about Colgate and what Colgate is doing.
So, Judge, there's a water problem in many parts of the country, isn't it? Folks are not able to get clean, potable drinking water, cooking water, water for other sanitary use, right? And so Colgate says, look, we can actually sink water wells in the country. We can make it possible for people to have access to this water. So what do they say? If you walk into any Naivas and buy a tube of Colgate toothpaste, that's all you have to do. So you can imagine your action then fueling another action on another side where then people can have access to water. So buy a tube of toothpaste. The proceeds from that go towards making sure that 30 more wells can be sunk in different parts of the country, and essentially 150,000 lives can be affected. Drinking water, water for sanitary use, water to make sure that children can be back in school, they don't have to be fetching water. Health issues out the window. It's a fantastic thing, wouldn't you say?
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm going to buy one, hoping that one shall be sunk in my village.
What's the village?
Nyankononi.
Nyankononi. In which sub-county?
Nyeri Masaba sub-county.
All right.
Yes.
So Nyeri Masaba is in Kisii.
Yes.
County. Okay. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. I want to speak to Thomas. Are you Thomas? Doubting Thomas? And you've been hearing about affordable housing program by the government, and you've been saying, yeah. Listen, just go to www.bomayetu.go.ke. You will find that the government's affordable housing program has actually been going on, not just since William Ruto became president, even before when Uhuru Kenyatta became president. And there are projects that started, they're ongoing, others are completed. Now they are asking you, please be part of this. Look into owning a home through Boma Yangu. Go to bomayangu.go.ke, register, and then select a project that you'd like to own a home in. And then when a house is ready and you have contributed 12.5% of the purchase price of the house, you are eligible to enter into the draw to getting a house. All right? bomayangu.go.ke.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry. Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions at 12 in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 23. 26 will be the high, and mostly sunny. Nakuru at 16. And it's 13 and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 23. Eldoret will see highs of 23, sunny through Thursday. It's 22 and partly sunny in Mombasa, highs of 29. 29 will also be the high in Malindi, where it is sunny at 25. 21 and mostly sunny in Kisumu, highs of 29. And we'll see highs of 28 in a cloudy Kakamega at 20. It's 18 and sunny in Kampala, highs of 28, and Dar es Salaam will see highs of 31. It's currently sunny at 23. 6 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 14 and lows of 3, and at 26. Lagos is mostly clear with highs of 30. Kinshasa will see highs of 30 as well. It's mostly cloudy currently at 22.
Spice up your life.
That's one thing we're not having a problem with this morning. A lot of movement in the cities, well, except for where there are empty streets. Traffic is not an issue because, nobody's out. Movement meaning that you can get where you're going really quickly. Today, we're not seeing anything on Uhuru Highway now after that early morning bump. Some of it coming in right at your roundabouts as you come in then to Globe Cinema at the overpass. Gitanga Road has a little bit of movement as you're getting in towards Lavington, but apart from that, it's easy streets and clear streets in most parts of the city. We'll take a look outside of Nairobi in a bit, but for now, you're not going to have a problem with traffic. If that should change, do let us know. Let's talk on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Justice Thursday, the Honorable Justice Ocharo Kibira, a judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, that is marking 10 years of operation since it was elevated into a superior court. They've been having a symposium at the KICC. Judge, the last time we hosted, 2 weeks ago, we hosted the Honorable Justice Jacob Gakeri, also from the court. And among the things that he told us is, when we talk about case backlog, one of the reasons we have case backlog is delays and adjournments. Adjournments have been a thorn in the flesh of courts, not just your court, but even all the other courts. And causes of delays, 68% of these adjournments are contributed by advocates. Now, you are practicing until recently, until you joined the court, okay? You came from the other side.
Now he's joined the other side.
Now you came from the bar, now you're on the bench. Yes. And you obviously then understand the tricks and tactics that advocates would use when they are coming to the court and they are applying for these adjournments. How do you now deal with that?
Without experience, I know that sometimes there are those adjournments which are sought not for very, very good grounds. So my approach has been that first, you ensure that you create that culture of, people appreciating that you don't walk into court and get an adjournment as and when you want it. People must appreciate the advocate's litigants that an application for adjournment is not automatically given. So what we have embraced is a no adjournment policy. Yes, you have to really convince me that you deserve the adjournment.
Take me through the thinking of the advocates, though. Why would an advocate just come and seek an adjournment with no strong reason? How does it benefit them and their client?
Yeah, maybe sometimes he forgot to inform his client about the hearing date. Maybe he is not prepared to handle the case on that day, and he has to seek for adjournment. And remember, an advocate owes a duty to his client to render services paid for. So to come to court and try to adjourn is to shield himself from a potential disciplinary action being taken against him by the Law Society of Kenya through the disciplinary tribunal. Yes.
Do you think the bench should actually take this matter up with the Law Society of Kenya?
No,
so that there is better because it sounds like there are cases where there could be genuine need for applying for adjournment, and in some cases it's just because this advocate A is not really committed to their client's case. That's why they would forget to inform the client. They'd maybe take over too much work and then not be able to service all their clients. So they're not prepared for this particular case. They were working on another one that's in another court in the afternoon. So this is all not rendering justice. They become a hindrance to access to justice. Should the bench actually have a sitting with the Law Society of Kenya and say, look, we have all these cases, we have all these applications for adjournment, look at them, do something?
I don't think so, because we are impartial actors. We must not only dispense justice, but be seen to dispense justice. So the moment you decide now you want to be the complainant to the Law Society of Kenya, you shall have ceased to be an impartial actor. You are jumping into the field. And you will be accused that now it's like you are becoming an advocate for the other party. Now, people not see it as you are trying to ensure that there's expeditious dispensation of justice. Somebody will feel that you have an hidden agenda to support the case of the other side. You shall have exhibited bias, so to speak.
But hear me out, Judge.
Yes.
You're all jurists, all right? Bench, bar. For the benefit of this profession of yours, you are sitting here and you're adjudicating a case, and you will deal with the counterparties there who are advocates. But you can see that there's something that's happening to the profession at that level of the bar. Is it not important to at least have this conversation at some point and raise it and say, we are the ones who appear to be delaying or the bottleneck to justice, but we are actually not the ones who are the bottlenecks to justice?
Oh, that we have done severally. In conferences where we have been invited to speak, in CUC meetings where LSK is represented. Yeah, we keep on telling them, we are not the problem. The problem is these unnecessary adjournments caused by your members. Yes, that we keep on preaching whenever we have a chance to so do.
Aside from adjournments, because we look at them and we tend to think that these are clearly the reasons why some of these cases take too long. And somebody who looks from the outside in would ask themselves, then why do these, apart from adjournments, why do they take so long? If we're looking at an employment case, for example, and I guess that's one of the reasons why you're here, to debunk some of these things.
Sure.
It would be simple in our eyes if I worked for the company of Eric and Siti and Sons, and I feel as though they have dismissed me unfairly because, okay, I don't know, I became pregnant, and as a result of that, I could not dispense my duties according to them. But I felt as though I could still do the job. They got rid of me anyway, in what I feel is a misogynistic manner. I collect my evidence. I don't need representation legally because it's clear, cut and dry, isn't it?
Yes.
And we lodge the case before court. Now, it seems really easy. It seems really simple. I may even have a witness or two in the office. Ednah has seen, another person has seen, they have witness testimony. To me, it seems pretty cut and dry. We come before, we mention the case, judge tells us, come back on another day, let's get through this thing. It seems like it could be a day's work, isn't it? But then we find these, and evidence is there, documentation is there. I have not shown that I would not be able to do my work because of the condition, but they've gotten rid of me anyway. We have all the documentation. It seems cut and dry, isn't it? But a case like that can take 2 years to adjudicate over. And so the question for a lot of people out here is, why does it take so long for something that would seem easy and quick?
Okay, there are so many factors, but one of the main factor here is, and which should be appreciated, is that when you file your case today, there are so many other matters on the queue. So that the matter can be so simple, but we are not going to give it a priority date for hearing just because it's a simple matter.
Okay.
It has to wait on the queue until it's reached. Remember, I said this is a court which has been operating with 9 judges. For example, if I may give an example of our court. 9 judges dealing with 10,000 cases in that court. It's almost impossible.
It's over 1,000 cases per judge.
To talk of like clearing cases with the speed that Kenyans expect. When I joined this court, my first docket of cases was 500. I can't do 10 cases in a day. So you can imagine for how long, if you filed your case today, you are going to wait on the queue until your matter is reached.
Meaning you get to the back of the queue.
Yes.
And yet, if somebody came and filed under a certificate of urgency, somehow some time would be found. Or can we not file for certificates of urgency within the ELRC?
And I think we need to understand what certificate of urgency means.
Please, yes.
Yes, so that people should not have an impression or a perception that, I'll just shout certificate of urgency and my matter is
jump the queue.
Definitely.
Yeah, so what happens is that, there are situations which must be preserved. For instance, if you find like somebody is going to have an unlawful, conduct or action being undertaken, and you feel that there's a serious prejudice that is likely to be suffered, and justifiably, you can come to court, explain that situation, and under that thing you call certificate of urgency, get what we call a preservatory order. Just preserving the status pending the hearing.
It doesn't mean that the hearing will now begin.
No.
Because of just said, do not fire this person. Hold on.
until we resolve the dispute. So really doesn't lead to people jumping the queue and having very young matters, if I may use that term, to be ahead of old matters.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to ask a question just on that. And then you can, in such an instance where Ndu has jumped to court to sue City and Eric company for City and Sons for for unfair dismissal, all right?
Yes.
And now they want those preservatory orders. So the court says, all right, until we hear this matter, we are seeing this is about unfair dismissal. Do not fire Ndu yet, okay? Until this matter is heard and determined. So Ndu stays in employment, earning a salary and have full benefits and everything else. And then this matter is concluded 5 years down the road, and you find that City and Sons was actually on the right in seeking to dismiss Ndu 5 years ago. What happens to the money that City has paid to Ndu in that time?
I think when we give conservatory orders, we preserve the situation as at that time. That means she continues rendering a service.
She was working for the company.
She was working.
City was firing her because she was reporting to work. She was not working. That's why City thought, you are a waste of space. Chai is office. So she continues in those 5 years with her bad manners in the office. After all, koti iliniambia kuna mahali mnanipeleka.
I'm not getting your question clearly.
I'm saying that in the end, you will find that City's grounds for dismissal and the process that he used to dismiss her was actually lawful. His grounds for dismissal was that he felt that she is not adding value to the company and she was misbehaving at work, and she, basically those things that employees do. Such employees. And that's why City and Sons, the company, was seeking to dismiss this employee. All right? Now, you preserved the status as it was. So she continued being in employment of City and Sons company. But she continued with her bad manners. So she wasn't really delivering value to the company. That on the side, City still had to employ somebody, a junior person, to carry the load that this office should have been holding. And her, because of the impunity of knowing that I have the court on my side, she actually even got worse. She was now reporting to work at 8:30, leaving at 2:30, and saying, utanipeleka wapi?
No, I get you. I think that's a misconception.
Okay.
This injunction or conservatory order that one gets is not a license for him or her to continue perpetuating acts which might look a misconduct. And if that happens, if after getting the conservatory order or a restraint order, she decides now to say, okay, here I am, I have a shield. What are you going to do? You can't do anything against me. That employer has a right to come to court and say, lift this conservatory order because of reason A, B, C, D. Since you gave this order, this employer has become big-headed. This is what she has continued to do. And the court, if convinced, can lift or discharge that order. So it's not a complete shield. It's not a license for an employee to go out there and now continue misbehaving and getting big-headed, so to speak, if I may use that term.
Justice, there was a time gone by in the previous century when one heard of labor officers, and when there were disputes in a work setting, an industrial setting. I say this because I came across them myself at some point in my life. They seem to be the ones who are charged with the duty of sorting out these disputes. Now, in this present day and age, and with the 2010 Constitution, what is the role of labor officers and what do they do? And are they still relevant?
In fact, they play a very big role. Those are the conciliators of today, providing an alternative avenue of dispute resolution. You'll be shocked. Yesterday, we had data from the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, and we were informed that in the past 1 year, around 8,000 cases have been resolved through conciliation, through the labor officers, because those are the conciliators. Yeah, so a huge chunk of cases was impeded from getting to court. And that's why we are saying that as much as possible, we should promote mediation, reconciliation, and negotiations as a form of dispute resolution.
You know, I hear you and I understand what you're saying, but again, my lived experience with the said officers was what I experienced and what I heard from others was part of the reason that people ended up going to court was because it was then said, not all, but a good number of labor officers were susceptible to being influenced, meaning their position in this mediation was biased. And the employer tended to have the upper hand because the employer had more means than the employee. So when the employee was aggrieved and felt that the matter that was discussed and adjudicated by the labor officers was inadequate according to them, they then went to court.
I don't agree with you. I think that perception could have been a misplaced perception. The perception that they were favoring employers,
yes,
against employees, was not well thought, because I think then, if you're talking of pre-2007, the structure of the law was inclined to favor the employer. You know, I remember I said we were using the common law principles.
Yes.
Where the employer wielded lots of authority. He could fire at will. And there's nothing, you know, the labor officer could do other than applying that principle. You have been given notice, terminated without cause, because then the employer could terminate at will. Unlike today, when you must have cause to terminate, and a valid cause. So really, it's not that the labor officers were corrupt in a way, so to speak. It's because of the realm, the legal regime under which they were operating, which was not very protective to the employee. And the perception now being influenced because of lack of understanding of the environment within which those labor officers were acting. Yes.
So what we are saying is basically the law has reformed this space, and the employee is now more protected by law. The employer is also, I'm expecting, more protected by law. Is it?
I think it's a balance. As I said, the new legal dispensation in this sector was to somehow countenance, to try and balance the power that the employer had over the employee. Immense power he had. So that the employee was the weakest person in the bargain. But nowadays, it's a little bit balanced. You cannot, hire and fire at will. You have to fire with cause. You have to follow procedure. That never used to happen. All that used to happen is, I have paid you I've given pay in lieu of notice.
Go.
And that was it. Go.
Aye.
And that could be 3 months salary, 1 month salary. You have worked for 50 years and you...
Or you're on probation, so no notice needed.
No notice.
Just get out
been
and go.
sacked like that, yeah.
Judge, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Say hello to your colleagues at the court and we wish you all the best.
Yeah, I can say that we have had a very beautiful week. Beautiful in a sense that we had a good chance to interact with our stakeholders.
Yeah.
We had a chance to interact with the academia, our colleagues from other, courts.
Yeah.
And the feedback was good.
Very
and
good.
We are set to be a court of excellence in Kenya.
The Honorable Justice Ocharo Kibira from the Employment and Labor Relations Court, 8 a.m.
Advise the locals, especially the youth, to utilize their precious time in national building and give a wide berth to activities hell-bent on destroying their own country. The governor lauded the county residents for maintaining peace and order, as she told of a few individuals who have been attempting to misuse the county youth by engaging them in protest. She said that at the moment the county youth are busy engaging in income-generating activities through the numerous development programs that have been initiated by both the national and county government. Now, the Media Council of Kenya has condemned the move by security officers to impersonate journalists during protests so as to arrest participants. MCK CEO David Omoyo termed this as unprofessional misconduct by the officers. Omoyo further commented on the arrest of scribes as they covered yesterday's protest. He said it was a ridiculous thing to do, but thanked the police for releasing the journalist. He noted that the duties of journalists, which are protected by the Constitution, Kenya Union of Journalists also condemned the impersonation, insisting that it is illegal. In one of the incidences of impersonation, a video circulating on social media shows a man who was filming protesters in Mathare suddenly arresting one of the protesters. The man, who is in plain clothes, is seen standing near the crowd, filming using a phone before he grabs one of the demonstrators and escorts to a waiting police lorry. Now, businessmen in Lake Victoria have joined forces with those who want President William Ruto to hold reconciliation talks with opposition leaders to end the protest, led by the chairperson Herman Kasili. They have said that President William Ruto should talk to Azimio leader Raila Odinga and stop the protests, saying that they are affecting business in various parts of the country.
Wanabiashara wanapoteza mali yao wakati waandamanaji wanapokimbia, wakipata duka limefunguliwa, inakuwa ni kwamba wanapora katika hiyo duka. Rais William Samoei Ruto na Raila Amolo Odinga, nchi ya Kenya ni kubwa kuliko nyinyi wawili, na inahitajika nyinyi kuketi pamoja kufikiria mwananchi wa kawaida. Kazi yenu ni kurushiana tu maneno na mwananchi wa kawaida anaumia.
They say that should the situation continue as is, the country's economy will deteriorate and worsen the cost of living.
Sisi ndio the gateway ya East and Central Africa ya biashara. Mali yetu yote ya kutoka ng'ambo inapitia katika port ya Mombasa. Na hiyo mali inaenda Uganda, hiyo mali inaenda Southern Sudan, inaenda Rwanda, Burundi. So mjue kwamba wakati mnaendelea na maandamano, tutakuwa hatuumizi Kenya peke yake, tunaumiza mainji hizi zingine za Afrika Mashariki. Naomba rais wetu ya kwamba sikiza maoni ya wananchi.
Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya has made changes in his cabinet for the first time. The changes will see CEC Public Service Samson Ojwang moved to the Ministry of Education. His position will be taken over by Julie Kichwen, who was manning the education docket. The former Chief Executive Officer in the Ministry of Public Service, Kennedy Etiang, has now been transferred to the Ministry of Trade and Industry. This position has been taken over by Philip Captain, who was serving in the Ministry of Lands. Jen Washwenge has been transferred to the Ministry of Gender, Youth, Sports, Culture and Tourism, and a position taken over by Rosaline Nasiabanda, who was serving the Ministry of Education. In addition, Patrick Okoh, who was the Chief Executive Officer for the Ministry of Agriculture, has been sent to the Ministry of Land and his position filled by Isaac Ndiema. Now, tenants of Otiende Estate in Kakamega Town have given the county government notice of intention to sue over impending eviction from the government houses. Otiende Resident Self-Help Group, through their advocate, has given the county 2 days to furnish them with information, the policy documents, and all pertaining to the contractual documents signed between the defunct local authority, the National Housing Corporation, tenants, and the county government. They intend to challenge the legality of the notices to vacate by the county government, saying they are not bound by the content of the notices. That is after they were served with reminders to vacate the houses by the end of the month. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, easy streets in Nairobi this Thursday. We're not looking at too much to contend with. Most of where you're going today will be easy to get through. Just a little bit of traffic coming out of Westlands as you're going towards the city. But again, nothing too painful. Some on the Eastern Bypass, but that's going out towards Ruai and we'll be fine. Coming in from Ruaraka, a little bit of traffic as well, but really nothing to pay much attention to. Okay, how about you tell us what's going on where you are and let us know what it looks like, even as we go into day 2 of Mandamano for this week. If there's anything that shout out to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Welcome to the third hour of the Situation Room, still live on Spice FM and KTN Home and live streaming online, YouTube, Facebook. Just go and search Spice FM and you will find our conversations. If you miss any conversation today, last week, tomorrow, just go back onto YouTube and you will find them.
If you're going to visit tomorrow.
Yeah, if you miss tomorrow, just go later and you'll look for it.
Even the Saturday version.
You will find all of them there. Kenya's biggest conversation is spreading this message courtesy of Colgate and Naivas supermarkets. People want to smile and we want to spread the smiles. People who don't have access to safe drinking water and they're looking for water. Now, Colgate is working with partners and they've identified several communities that will benefit from these 30 water wells. That is about 150,000 people. And if you just go into Naivas and buy Colgate, that's all you need to do. Part of that money will go towards this, building 30 wells and benefiting 150,000 lives across the country. It's Thursday. It's episode 3 of
on Showmax of Faithless. Right, so episode 3 drops today.
Showless
unfaithful.
What would you like it to be?
You okay? Showmax is a show.
Faithless.
Movie is called Faithless.
Voila. All right. So, what are Esther and her friends up to this week? What is going to be unraveled? We've been telling you what the first 2 episodes had, and we're not going to tell you what the third one has. How about you log on to showmax.com today? If you have not paid, you can get away with making that payment and then find out what is happening. It's episode 3 of the 10-part series. Let's see what happens next.
Engineer Maurice Akech is the Executive Director and Registrar of Contractors at the National Construction Authority. This is the body that basically, he'll tell us, but it is in charge of a lot of regulating and everything in construction in the country. Yeah. And when you talk about Boma Yetu, which is the portal that has the affordable housing program by the government, all those contractors ideally should be on Engineer Akeche's roll somewhere. That you're the one who has registered the contractors who are doing the affordable housing project across the country. So nyumba itakuwa na shida because the National Construction Authority is on top of things. But welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Good to have you again.
Thank you, Latiff and team. And I really appreciate this opportunity once again to engage citizens of our beautiful country on matters construction, on matters regulations, and how we can keep ourselves safe as we continue doing our work around the country.
Very good.
Thank you.
To welcome you, CT has the day's proverb. This week's proverbs are from which country?
The Republic of Guinea. Not Equatorial Guinea, not Guinea-Bissau, not Papua New Guinea, and not Guinea-Fowl. The Republic of Guinea.
The proverb does not come from guinea fowl.
No, it doesn't. Just, you never know. Someone's mind may wander in that direction. They may be thinking some avian creature. So we are disabusing them of that notion completely. Okay. He who builds his own throne rules over a desert.
He who builds his own throne rules over a desert. Engineer, what's your translation of this one?
That's very profound. It means you have the powers, you have the discretion that once you build your own property, you own it, you rule over it, and nobody else can come to take over from you. So it's yours. That's my interpretation. So basically, it's the ownership aspect.
Ukijenga ni yako.
Yes.
Come what may. Ni yako. I am actually fascinated, and this is the beauty of having people with the diverse backgrounds of disciplines. The interpretation often will be influenced somewhat by the discipline.
The background.
Yes. Yes.
They contextualize.
Yeah, they really contextualize it, and it brings out interpretation that you couldn't have thought of yourself. Yes. Because I wouldn't have thought of it in those terms that Engineer Kitch has just mentioned. No, not really.
It's an interesting one.
Yes,
maybe the creators of this particular quote may have had an idea. What was the intention behind this quotation?
Perhaps a little background is in order. This country, after colonization and at independence, by the way, it got independence 65 years ago, okay?
Yes.
But the thing that has characterized this country is they have had coup after coup after coup after coup after coup.
Okay. Guinea.
Yes.
Yes.
2021, there's a gentleman called Alpha Conde who was the president. Again, he was removed. Meaning it's like people have known more coups than they've known stability and peace in this country. So you have to wonder. And by the way, it's all in the name of the people.
Yeah.
Just so that you understand.
For the people.
The people.
Sure. Good.
Engineer Ketch, so you're regulator of the construction industry in Kenya.
Yes.
We had a conversation a couple of weeks back with the first executive director and registrar, who is now a member of parliament, architect Dr. Manduku.
Yes.
And he was talking about the building code, and he was saying, you know what, one of the things that we've had a problem with in this country is we are talking about building houses in 2023, and we are still using a code that was for building houses in 1968. We need to change.
Yes.
Are we on the path to changing?
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and that's the reason I'm here today. Just to follow up on the conversation you had, and it's good you've given a background and the history of where we are coming from and where we need to be. Currently, we're using a document, a building code, that was promulgated way back in 1968. Now, 1968 to now is more than 50 years. 50 years down the line, a number of things have really changed in the areas of materials for construction, in the areas of technology for construction, in the areas of design for construction, in the areas of construction itself as a method, and also as far as maintenance is concerned. So the conversation we are having here now is the new proposed building code that is meant to repeal the building code that was put up in 1968. And the new building code is at now its tail end. We've been working on it for a number of years now. And National Construction Authority, through the National Construction Authority Act, was amended in 2020 March to introduce the development and enforcement of the building code, meaning that the 1968 building code used to be under the Local Authorities Act, which, as you know, it was repealed in 2012 with the coming of the County Act, the County Government Act, 2012, that repealed the Local Authorities Act, where the building code was domiciled. Remember, a building code is a regulation, and as a regulation, it needs to have an anchor act. So that anchor act was repealed, so it lost a home. So fast forward in 2020, under the National Construction Authority Act, the government made a strategic decision to have the NC Act amended to introduce the development and enforcement of the building code. So we started working on it around that time, though previously, of course, a lot of work had been done, but there was no home. So now a home was found, which is the NCA Act, and we've been working on this document for about 2 to 3 years now. Where we have reached now is the point where we've engaged widely across the country, all the stakeholders in their built environment, within and outside. Outside includes even users. Inside means implementers and policy makers. We've also done validation, and the code is basically ready. The document is basically ready, about 344 pages, with 517 articles, touching from when you begin, you think about construction, to when you finish and when you maintain it. Everything is inside there. And this code currently is waiting to be presented to Parliament. And we know we have 2 houses, the National Assembly and the Senate, so that it can now be considered or approved for it to take a legal effect. That's the stage where we are currently on. And very soon, we will need to see that happening. Now, why the new building code? Very important. The 1968 code is very prescriptive in the sense that it defines what you should use without giving you option. Like, for instance, if you're constructing a wall, a normal wall for a building, it tells you should use a stone, maybe Nairobi blue stone, even if you're building in Mombasa.
It says Nairobi blue stone.
Yeah, because that was the stone that started construction those days. Then it also tells you it must be this thick, 200 millimeters. But those days, of course, we were measuring in feet,
9 by
inches.
12.
Yes, inches. So that is how prescriptive it is. The new code is very flexible and performance-based. It tells you that as long as what you're using for building the wall meets these performance requirements, then you're good to go, which means it gives opportunity for innovators, for those who are in the space of materials development, to come up with any material as long as it meets those requirements. For instance, it tells you that the wall must be made of a material that can give a fire rating of this much before it burns out completely, because fire may be an hazard as aspect in a construction. It tells how long it should burn before it breaks down. So as long as it meets those performance requirements, it also tells you it must meet these strength requirements, how strong it should be, and so on and so forth, among many other things. The old code did not consider universal access. Universal access here means that the building should be accessible to anyone, anybody, regardless of their physical status or condition. Meaning it takes care of the people living with disabilities. So introduction of ramps, lifts, and so on and so forth. The other thing it talks about is we're in the space of climate change. So we can also consider the issue of green construction, sustainable construction that is environmentally sustainable, socially sustainable, economically sustainable, so that it meets the needs of today and tomorrow. It is not in order for us to do construction today that our children coming tomorrow, or grandchildren or great-grandchildren will be asking, what are our forefathers thinking when they were doing this construction? We should not interfere with the environment. It should be used in a way that it's sustainable. Also, the code enhances the issues of health and safety within and around the construction. This is very important. So this code actually is a total metaphor, a total shift from what we had to what we are looking to have, and also embrace emerging technologies, emerging materials, and a new way of doing things.
Sounds like the code has already been overtaken by practice. Like what we are seeing now being constructed and being hailed as, these very good and beautiful buildings are not adhering to the 1968 code. Am I right?
Well,
let's take walls, for instance.
Yes.
The walls that people build.
Yes.
If we were adhering to the 1968 code, would we have broken glass and barbed wire at the top of the walls that we have?
Well, there is what we call internationally accepted standards and ways of construction. We are living in a global space. The code we have of 1968 is our own code. But as you know it was basically a document that was, can I use that, borrowed?
Yes.
And then
imposed.
Customized to meet our requirements. You've asked a very valid question, that if you are to read today's buildings, will they pass the test of that code? The answer is it will partially pass. But many things that are not in that code, we will have to ask yourself, how do we make them become compliant with what we are doing?
So,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if people are partially compliant, unfortunately, when something happens, it is total destruction, right? So maybe I can ask the question, who is meant to abide by the code? The one for 1968, the 344-page one that you've now done, which I'm assuming takes in parts of the 1968 code, then with current trends and puts that all together, right? Who within the industry is supposed to follow this code?
Very good question. Who should work on the code or implement the code, or who the code subscribes to?
Right.
I can answer that in two ways. The first one, let's appreciate what the code talks about. The code talks about design. The code talks about construction. The code talks about operation and maintenance. What that means is that every player in that space will be part of what the code needs to subscribe to. So number one, for the design, the code prescribes what, how, and when. Yeah. So for the design purposes, it means the designers, if the architect is designing a building, for instance, my predecessor was here before discussing the same issue, who is now Mheshimiwa, is an architect. So if somebody in his space is carrying out a design, which is the first form of contact with the client is the developer. He'll approach an architect, give a design brief. So based on the design brief, which is from the user's perspective, the developer's perspective, the architect will be using the code to design the spaces that has been prescribed in the code. For instance, the code will say, if you have a site or a parcel of land measuring this much, and you want to site a building, siting now means how to place the building within the plot. This is how it should be done. This is the setback from the boundaries, from the roadside, and so on and so forth. That is the architect now using the code to organize his design to meet the client's requirements and meet the code. So the architect is already there. Now, for the engineer, the structural engineer, or the civil engineer for this matter, is carrying a civil engineer whose role is to design a building, and that's a structural engineer. His work now would be to look at the code and look at what does the code say about foundations. What does the code say about design of columns and so on and so forth? And the code makes references to other design, what do you call, codes of practice. You know, this is a regulation which defines what needs to be done, where and how.
Yes.
But it also refers to other existing codes of practice. Like, for instance, we have, in this country now, we're using the Euro codes. Previously, they were British standards. Like, for instance, we're designing for a foundation. There's a code that talks about it, that is referred to that. In that matter, you're designing a wall, you're designing a roof, you're designing a slab or a floor, and so on and so forth. So the engineer is already working on it. If you go to the space of other engineers, like the mechanical, that designs the lifts and air conditioning or not plumbing, or you talk about electrical, who designs the issues of lighting and so on and so forth, the code has all these prescriptions. So that's the space of the design. If you go to construction is where now you have the contractor who is supposed to procure materials on behalf of the client, put the fundis together, and then carry out the construction works. So this code also prescribed the methodologies, the materials, and how they can be used. So now in construction space, the contractor is using it. So I've said the architect, the engineer, the contractor. Now, remember, before the contractor goes to the ground, the engineer and architects design, they have to go to the county for approval under the Physical and Land Use Planning Act. And it's very important to note that when the county is carrying out approvals, they'll also be using the code to guide on those approvals. You've met the requirements that the code has prescribed. So when it comes now to environmental issues, NEMA would also be referring to some parts of the code, or even the environmental impact assessors, the experts, will also be using the same as they prepare those reports for NEMA to approve. Then when you come to the regulators, National Construction Authority, we'll also be using the same code. To see whether you have met the requirements. So when you're now checking out compliance during a quality assurance inspections across the country, the same code will be very necessary for us and very important. It's like the Bible, a checklist that you have to do this, have you done it? So that's the space that the code is going to occupy and to bring a lot of sanity and semblance in the way the construction industry is regulated.
And this is just for buildings. Is it just for buildings, or are we looking at construction of other infrastructure as well? Just for buildings, this code?
Well, I want to look at it this way. The code primarily prescribes the space of buildings. But buildings do not stand alone.
Indeed.
Remember, for you to access a building, you need a road. For a building to function, you need water connections. You need wastewater and sanitation. You need power, electricity. You need telecommunication. And all these things that are associated with the building. So the code is not in isolation. As much as it talks about buildings, but it also looks at the other associated infrastructure. One important thing also that the code has is the aspect of hazard maps. That's called resilient designs. A design that will stand the floods. So if you're doing a design for a building, you have to know the flood risks. Whether this place you are doing construction, there will be floods in future, and how you do mitigate about.
Or if it's built on a water path.
Exactly. Or there's no water path now, but you have to consider what about the future. It talks about earthquakes, or what we call seismic risk. When there's earthquake. And remember, earthquake is not just for buildings; it affects roads, bridges, and so on and so forth, and even dams. It talks about wind. You know, and you have very tall buildings, because wind is very important when you're designing very high rise structures. It can be a serious risk if it's not considered. Then lastly, about landslides. And this affects even the road sector. It affects dams. It affects every other thing you think about. So that's why the code is very important, because at some point it also has reference or to those hazard maps that we need to consider. That's wind, seismic, which is earthquake, landslides, and floods.
So essentially, this code takes into consideration everything possible, essentially, that could happen in this dance with nature, also human beings and their interaction, everything.
So it's all inclusive.
It's all inclusive.
Correct.
Now, one would then assume, because of this code that's in place, which you should follow, it's your manual. For example, we as journalists also have a manual. We have a code that we follow.
Correct.
Right? So if something goes wrong, usually they'll refer you to your code and say, excuse me, Eric, this is what you should have followed. This is how you should have operated. Now, take, for example, if a building collapses. Based on what you have said is in the code, everything that could have happened that this building then has collapsed has been taken into consideration by the time this individual has been given approval to construct, right?
Yes.
So if something goes wrong, you should be able to pinpoint where this thing went wrong and that somebody did not do what they were supposed to do. Is that correct?
That's correct, actually, very right. There is this which prescribes the standards of how you need to do it, where and when. And then there is you as an individual, practitioner.
Yes.
You also have your code of conduct.
Right.
So there's the building code, which is the regulations, and the code of conduct of the practitioner.
Yes.
For instance, even at National Construction Authority, we have a code of conduct for construction industry.
Yes.
This is different from the building code.
Yes.
So the one you are actually alluding to speaks to the code of conduct.
Yes.
Which means the code of conduct that we have at National Construction Authority prescribes the expectation of what a contractor needs to do, a construction worker. These are the people we regulate directly, and as well as the developer, so that the extent that if you fail to pay your fundi as a contractor, what are some of the actions or ramifications that needs to be done? If a fundi fails to do his part, what needs to be done? If a material supplier has not done his part, and so on and so forth. To the extent that this code prescribes, this national building code is you are supposed to provide a material that meets the specifications. You are supposed to do a window or a door that meets these requirements. You are supposed to do a foundation that is ABCD, and so on and so forth.
Right.
So there's the two actually work hand in hand. Yeah. So there's a code of conduct, and there's now the code that prescribes the standards of how to do things in construction.
Okay.
Break time. 29 minutes to 9. Engineer Maurice Okech, Executive Director and Registrar of Contractors at the National Construction Authority, is our guest today. We are talking about building code and what new proposed regulations mean for the construction industry. We are basically going to be repealing the 1968 building code and bringing in new ones. Now, that's what we are discussing. What's the importance of having a new building code? And what does a new building code then do to the construction industry and to all of us, because we are all beneficiaries of this industry. Engineer, I still want to come back. So you are the ones who regulate everybody in the construction sector. So when you go to those Bomayangu homes, the affordable housing projects by the government, each of these projects, you will find that the people who are working there, be it the contractor, the electrician, of course, everybody there has been licensed by NCA, should be licensed by NCA, right? Good. Now, I want to tell everybody who is doubting the issue of affordable housing, that's the message today to the doubting Thomases. Go to bomayangu.go.ke and you will see that the affordable housing program actually started where we know. We've been hearing about the Park Road one, we've been hearing about the others, but there are very many. There's Moka Gardens Affordable Housing Development in Athi River. There's King's Boma Estate in Ruiru, King's Sapphire in Bondeni, in Nakuru, Starehe Point 1 in Nairobi. There's Fairview Heights in Athi River. There's Pangani in Nairobi. There's 7-star apartments in Mtwapa. There's King Serenity in Rongai, which is even completed. There's Buxton Point in Mombasa, of course. All these projects are ongoing. Now, register into bomayangu.com and you then are eligible to owning one of these properties. Many of them ongoing projects, and some, like the Rongai one, is completed. It's as simple as that. www.bomayangu.go.ke or dial *832#. That's *832#. Time for that break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You think you can guess the year?
2007. That's when the theme song, that's when it premiered for the James Bond movies.
You're half correct. But in terms of guessing the year?
Okay, if not 2007, then 1963.
Oh, now you're just throwing things, eh? You're throwing the sufria and everything outside.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Getting jiggy with it.
Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Edward Quatch, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Damn.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi. It's 15 degrees, highs of 23 and lows of 12. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15 in Nakuru. 24 will be the high, and mostly sunny conditions through Nyeri, currently at 14. It's sunny at 15 in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 12. It's sunny at 24 in Mombasa, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 29 as well in the sunny Malindi at 25. 21 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 20, and Kakamega is sunny at 20, highs of 29 and lows of 18. It's sunny in Kampala at 20, highs of 28. And 31 will be the high in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 25. It's 6 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 14 and lows of 3. Mostly clear at 26. In Lagos, highs of 30 and highs of 30 as well. In a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 21.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so again, not a traffic problem this Thursday. We're able to get in and out of the city really quickly. If we look in an easterly direction as well, out of Nairobi, that's fine. Coming in as well, there will be no problem. Looking out west, then through to Westlands and out towards Nakuru County, you also will be fine. We're not looking at problems with traffic today. Looks like another quiet day on these streets. We want to keep an eye on things, however, and see what's happening where. Let's talk through the morning and circle back at about 9 and see what it looks like then. Talk to us in the meantime on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
4 minutes to 9. The conversation continues. Smile and spread a smile just by going to Naivas and buying Colgate. It's important to do this. 150,000 people are going to benefit from just your simple action of doing your shopping. Go to Naivas, buy Colgate. Imagine that, Engineer Ketch. And once you buy Colgate, part of that money will go to building one of 30 wells in various communities across the country who will benefit from water. You know this as you're doing your inspection tours across the country. You find areas where really water is a hard commodity to come by. So Colgate has also done this. They've identified the same. And because Colgate is a company whose main job is to make people smile with confidence, they notice that there are people who are not smiling with confidence because water, because they don't have access to clean water. And you know, clean water is also a big factor in dental health. So they've said, let's do something about it. So buy Colgate, and part of that money goes towards sinking one of 30 wells to benefit 150,000 lives. Engineer Maurice Akech, the Executive Director and Registrar of Contractors at the National Construction Authority, is here this morning to talk to us about the new proposed building code, because we want to repeal the 1968 building code. You know, Engineer, in our laws, the code will come in as regulations under the NCA Act, right?
Yes.
Regulations have a lifespan, don't they? 10 years and then you review. So we are saying that if these regulations go through Parliament and they are approved, they'll be in effect for 10 years and then we should review them. Is that sufficient time to be reviewing a building code?
In fact, very good point you've raised. One of the challenges we have in the 1968 code is because it does not have a lifespan of its own prescribed within itself. So it can continue to be used for quite some time.
In perpetuity.
Yes. The new code has got some safeguards in it. Number one, apart from the Statutory Instruments Act, which guides that every regulation must be reviewed after every 10 years, the code itself has a provision of a 5-year review period, that every 5 years the code will have to be reviewed to check maybe some of the changes that may have occurred in the construction space in terms of materials, in terms of technology. So it's a very self-reviewing mechanism that has been embedded in the code. So within the 5-year period, they'll need to have a review. But of course, within the 10 years also, it's a requirement to review it as a regulation. So those safeguards are now there and will give us opportunity and room to ensure that we periodically review this code to address the changes in the technology, changes in materials, and changes in construction, because construction is a very dynamic industry, and things keep changing. And we want to give flexibility to innovators, to people who invent new things, so that we continue moving. In fact, in the space of affordable housing, it benefits a lot by the fact that we have to do things in a different way, not using the conventional, traditional methods, so that we have new materials that can be done faster in terms of speed. We have materials that can meet the cost requirements, and as well as quality. So to look at quality, cost, and time, then there is need to have periodic changes in that space to continue updating this particular code. So that's already provided for in the new code.
Is 5 years not too soon? I mean, we've just started. Barely have you come up with a new building code. Then in 5 years' time, you need to have reviewed it. That means you've started conversations about it 2 years into its operationalization. The impact that has on the industry would be huge, because you are planning maybe a new development in a certain area, and by the time you're actually breaking ground and completing it, the building code has changed.
Well, what is important to note is that even when the code changes, the change is basically to update it to better standards for efficiency and effectiveness. What does that mean? Even then, you asked a question at the beginning about whether what we are doing now complies with the old code, or with the code that currently we are trying to repeal. The answer is that what the new code is doing is an update of what you've been doing. It's like adding on top. Like you had
it's like what mobiles do.
A human being of 100 years ago.
System update.
And a human being of today is still the same human being, but maybe certain things may have changed in terms of technology space, if I may use that particular example. So what this code, every update will be doing for every 5 years, is look at what are the new things that have come into the space, and we need to update into the old code. So basically it's an update. It's not a total overhaul. Update from time to time to keep it in tandem with the new changes that will be happening.
To fix the bugs.
If at the time of the review there is no change, then you say ditto. Yeah. But of course, it will be very hard not to find a change, because, as I told you, things are very dynamic. Very, very dynamic.
Engineer, where the problem arises, I have 3 questions I want to ask you, but I just want to comment on this one. Every 5 years we have an election. And the unfortunate thing about this country is every time you have new leadership, they will come up with some newfangled ideas about everything. and the building code will not escape their notice. That's just a by the way. Now, question number 1, how does the association that you head, how does it interface and how does it work with the association of planners that we have in this country, or the planning institutions, the planning bodies, whether they're urban planners or they're physical planners? How do you associate with them? How does your work dance in tandem with what they do?
That's question 1.
Yes, I'd like it answered before I go to question 2.
Thank you. Well, National Construction Authority is mandated to oversee and coordinate the development in this of construction industry in this country, Kenya. As a regulator, we do not operate in a vacuum. We do not operate in isolation. In fact, we work very collaboratively with all the other players. And for your information, apart from the planners you have mentioned, planners actually the starting point when you don't do a building, because they must plan and prepare the architect must come after the planning has been done to prepare the architectural plans for purposes of development control permission to be obtained from the county for where development is supposed to take place. We also have 12 other players very key in this sector. So even the architect that is doing the design is being regulated by the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, BORAX. The engineer who is supposed to prepare the structural designs, the civil engineer in this case, is regulated by Engineers Board of Kenya, as well as other engineers in that space. The contractors who are supposed to do the construction are regulated by National Construction Authority. The skilled construction workers and site supervisors who are supposed to be doing the actual work, these are the people employed by the contractors, are also regulated by National Construction Authority. Beyond there, you also need to have environmental issues taken care of. So we have NEMA in place. Now, depending where construction is taking place, if it's near water body, riparian space, you need Water Resources Authority. If it's near airports or a flight path, you need Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. You need many other players in this space. Now, if a building has been constructed and for some reason safety audit has to be done, there's National Building Inspectorate, who we work also very closely with. So, and many more. So there are about 12 or so that we have mapped out, and we work with them. And remember, in all this space, county has the primary responsibility to actually give development control permission for construction to take place. So one of the regulators is also the county. So to answer your question is that how do we work with this? We work with them collaboratively, because even for us to register a project, which is part of our mandate, we must register a project that meets the requirements, regulatory legal requirements that happens in all the space. And if you don't work with all these people, then how do we even confirm that these things have gone through what we call due diligence in terms of approval, where they're supposed to be approved? So to answer your question is that yes, we work very collaboratively with all these players so that we achieve our mandate, which is oversight and coordination. So coordination here is key. You cannot coordinate an item. There must be many items for that coordination to happen.
And yet, we have situations where buildings collapse, which means these bodies that form this collaboration exist, yes, but then one has to question how effective their roles are. Yet, we have situations where construction sites come up with estates and what have you, and the complementing institutions that are supposed to be there, like, say, a playground or a school or something, you suddenly find is simply not there. I mean, I'm asking this question because your office is likely to be overburdened by people who come querying. We have the institutions. That's really the point. Do they have the ability to execute their mandate? Meaning, a complaint comes to your office. We have a listener who sent me a message about some issues they've had in Lavington, and those matters have been brought to your office. Now, it can't be the only issue that has been brought to the office. There must be many others. Now, my question is, question number 2. You have the office, we have the regulations, we have the rule book. Do you have the capacity to ensure that you can actually conduct the duties that your office has been assigned and that your office is mandated to do?
Very good. So we know we have many institutions, as you have put it, and we have our distinct roles, and we have our strengths and capabilities to deliver our mandate. But just as you put it, if we all keep working separately, then all these issues are bound to occur. So what have we done as a National Construction Authority? What we have done, we have reached out to all the players in this sector, and we have come up with what we call a multi-agency approach. And I'm happy that this approach is being embraced by many institutions, so that we work as a team, so that we end up with what we almost call a one-stop shop, if you may call it. And this is now really helping to bring all our unique strengths together to work towards a common objective. So that if my role is to regulate contractors, register projects, accredit construction workers and site supervisors, as well as carry out quality assurance inspections, and I know there are also other players in the same space, we work jointly and collaboratively so that we do it as a team. You know, there is an aspect which can be called fatigue. You know, when today NCA is on your site, tomorrow is the county, the other day is NEMA, the other day is, it becomes you as a developer, you start asking.
Like these people, sure.
You don't have other places.
It's like you're sending each other.
Yeah. So what we have done now in this space is to actually work together, also share information as much as possible, and have periodic engagements to ensure that we now work as a team. So in fact, now developers have no space to run to or to hide, because if you think you're going to hide from this particular space or institution, you realize already they have the information, and you just deal with it on spot on.
Okay.
On a matter of complaints, which is what the gist of his question was, Of course, on a day-to-day, we receive a lot of complaints, and we deal with them. And when those complaints come, we also reach out to the primary actors or entities to ensure that we address those complaints and we close them as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then who has the responsibility for censure? Because now you are essentially, regulating all of these folks in this industry. If something goes wrong, who then has the responsibility for censure, for prosecution, investigation, all of this?
Very good. Remember, we are working as a team, as a one government approach.
Yes.
It's called the whole government approach. What it means is that there is each player. In fact, you've raised a question that is very important, even for the mwananchi out there. Remember, if an incident occurs, for instance, sometimes you have a building collapsing. That's already a disaster.
Yes.
And I also want to confirm that this particular code also addresses the issue of disaster management, which is not in the old code, the code that we are trying to repeal. Now, when an incident occurs, it could be a bridge collapsing, it could be a building collapsing, it could be a trench collapsing, and so on and so forth. It can collapse at every other stage. And once this occurs, now we carry out investigations. And upon conclusion of those investigations, if the recommendation is to the extent that there was some culpability of any player, maybe the contractor, the developer, or any other player in that space, then this matter is reported to reach out to the police department, the DCI, or the Director of Public Prosecutions for action to be taken. In fact, in some instances, for instance, when the building is still going on and we are carrying out our inspections and we find out there is non-compliance, maybe the project is not registered, or there's no registered contractor, or there's no issues of health and safety, or is, of course, we look at the magnitude of the non-compliance and how notorious it is. Then we actually suspend that, and we take we press charges against that particular offender in court through, of course, the prosecution team. So we work very collaboratively. So in terms of who is responsible, it's both at individual, institutional level, and also collaboratively, so that we all work as a team and address this issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if you find that the particular individual or organization then is not cannot continue with said project? Cities in the middle of construction. The architect there's a flaw. No, forget about the architect. The contractor on the ground, there's something that they're not doing right. You come in as the authority. This individual is suspended, right? But this work must go on. What happens?
Very good. In fact, many times when we have carried out investigations and the Board of National Construction Authority has conducted a full inquiry and come up with recommendations, in many instances, some contractors have been suspended. Now, actually, that question goes beyond even the project that is under construction. A contractor may have more than one project, more than one site, by different clients.
Yes.
So on this site is client A, and client A is the one where the contractor had an issue, and the board has suspended this particular contractor. What do? We do an extent analysis. Which other sites or which other project this particular contractor is carrying out, is doing. So then we reach out to all the developers and to the developers where this contractor is working and inform them that this is to bring to your attention that this contractor has been suspended. And for this case, this project cannot continue with the same contractor. You need to find out an alternative contractor to continue working if you are to continue their project. So to that extent, so it's very punitive for a contractor that has been suspended because you lose business, basically.
Sure.
So you not want to go to that extent. So it is important for the comfort of us as Kenyans to ensure that for a contractor who has been suspended, you cannot continue to do work anywhere else until the suspension period is over. You could even be deregistered. Suspension is just one of the actions that can be taken.
It's a yellow card.
But it can also remove you from the register, a red card. Now you cannot practice anywhere.
For the Mwananchi, somehow, everything you say makes sense, but for it to be in consumable quantities. For instance, if I have an issue that I want to raise with your authority, I'm going to give the example of KRA, who will tell you if you have a dispute, you do this. If it doesn't work, you go here and expect a response within this number of days. Does the authority have such a system where if somebody has a problem, they are told within 5, 6, 10 days, whatever it is, we will respond to you. And if that doesn't work, do this. Do you have communication? Do you have a platform with the citizenry so that they can be a back and forth? You can receive information and you can give back information.
Very good. 3 things. Number 1, we have a service charter. A service charter is what defines our commitment to Mwananchi, our commitment to the citizen, that if a complaint is raised, we respond within this number of days. I think for complaint, we have a 3-day response window. And within the 3 days, even if just to say we have acknowledged the receipt, we've received this information and we're working on it. If you don't have the immediate answer, we need to carry out some additional investigation. That commitment is there to the Mwananchi. To the extent that somebody action has been taken against someone because you've raised an important point. We may take action, adverse action against one of our licensees, like a contractor, for instance, has been suspended, and they feel maybe it is not fair. Then they have a recourse. They can go to the National Construction Appeals Board. Yeah, there's NCAB, National Construction Appeals Board. The A in the NCA is not the authority. National Construction Appeals Board. So this board also looks at those who are not satisfied with the decision made by the Board of National Construction Authority. You can go there and appeal. It's like a quasi-court. So after going to the appeals board, the decision they make is binding to us and to the person who petitioned NCA at that point. So it's important to understand that, yes, we have a commitment to the Wananchi, and even if they're not happy, they can also go to another place. And there's also the ombudsman, the place where if you feel NCA has not addressed your complaint or they have taken too long, they can also take us to, what do you normally call them?
The Commission of Administrative Justice.
Administrative Justice, yes. And that is where now we also checked as an institution. So a government as a whole has got so many checks and balances that I think we are bound to abide by. Yeah.
So back to the building code as we conclude. Where is it now? Is it in Parliament? Is it going through public participation? How soon do we anticipate to have a new building code?
Yes, so the building code as we speak now has been fully drafted by the Attorney General's office, and we are grateful for the support. We have now, before it's published by the minister, because the minister in charge of public works, that's the Minister for Lands.
Lands.
The Minister for Lands, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works. Is expected to gazette this, but before it's gazetted, because the next stage is gazettement by the minister, but before it's gazetted, we are doing what we call pre-publication scrutiny, which is an opportunity to engage both houses of parliament, basically the Committee of Delegated Legislation of the Senate, the Committee of Delegated Legislation of National Assembly, so that if we have taken them through, they may have some comments that we also need to consider before it is published, so that when it goes to the floor of the two houses after publication by the minister, they'll consider it, and once adopted, it becomes a legal document. So the stage we are in at the moment is that engagement of the two houses, and I want to confirm that the Senate already we've engaged them. They gave us very good comments that are also very enriching. We are now waiting to engage the National Assembly, the same Committee of Delegated Legislation. Once we've engaged them, now, if there are any comments, they'll be incorporated, and then the minister will publish this document. After publication, of course, within 7 days after publication, he'll notify the Speaker of National Assembly and also notify the Speaker of the Senate, both houses, and those speakers, once they receive the two notifications, they're expected to commit this document to the relevant committee so that they look at it, and if they're happy, they bring it to the floor of parliament, two houses. If once approved, it takes a legal effect. So we are giving ourselves, of course, we may not have control of the
timelines in Parliament,
but our prayer is that within the first quarter, and you know, government in terms of quarters, we have first quarter is 1st July to 30th September. Within that quarter, the space we are currently in terms of quarters, this document should see the light of day.
Okay.
And the government our country will have a document that will ensure that we have a safe built environment. We have a built environment that is of good quality and is of order and sanity.
Very good. Looking forward to that. Yeah. Engineer Maurice Akech, Executive Director and Registrar of Contractors at the National Construction Authority. Let's look forward to engaging more on the new building code. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Thank you.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino was allegedly detained at the Wanguru police cells in Kirinyaga County, almost 300 kilometers away from where he was arrested, according to his wife Frida. After his arrest at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, Nairobi, on Tuesday night, Owino was sprinted to Wanguru police station in Kirinyaga and detained there. According to his wife, he was not booked at the occurrence book. She said police chased her out of the station after she arrived there seeking to see him. It is not clear if he will be charged, given he had been detained for more than 24 hours. Officials said he and others who had been arrested would be presented before Kahawa West Law Courts in committee to face charges there. The court usually handles terror-related cases. And calm is being witnessed in Mombasa County, with no signs of the anti-government protest so far, despite calls for the second day of protest by the opposition Azimio coalition. Compared to yesterday, normal activities have resumed, with shops that had closed yesterday opening their doors for business. Police have, however, been deployed to various parts of the coastal city to man against the protest should they happen. And Kilifi South MP Ken Chonga and the Speaker of the Kilifi County Assembly Teddy Mwambire, who were arrested yesterday in Mtwapa, are still being detained at the Kilifi police station. Others who are also detained are Chonga's assistant Victor Katana and Patrick Chiro, who is an employee in the office of the county senator Stewart Mazayo. The four were arrested yesterday morning, shortly after they were dispersed by police officers who were patrolling the area to prevent the possibility of any anti-government protest. Before being dispersed, there was exchange of words between opposition leaders in Kilifi County, led by the Kilifi South Police Commander George Madialo, about the planned protest. According to Madialo, none of the opposition leaders in the county had informed him about the protest. According to the leaders, including Kaloleni MP Paul Katana and Malindi MP Amina Mnyazi, their leader Raila Odinga had announced about the protest last week, so the government knew about it.
Sisi tuko hapa, madhumuni yetu is to exercise our right under Article 37 of the Constitution.
Sikatai.
Yeah?
Sikatai kwa 37.
Hakuna mtu anayebeba silaha, hakuna mtu hapa.
Sikatai. Tunaenda tu Article 37 na turudi tena 56 inasema nini? Nini wanasheria 56 inasemaje?
Hebu niambie.
Public order inasemaje?
Public order.
Yes.
It's not to disturb anything.
Ngoja inasemaje public order? Notification. Hapo tu peke yake. Mungekuwa mmeni-notify, mimi sina shida, hata na escort. Lakini nobody notified me.
The entire country leo tunafanya.
You cannot notify the entire country. You have to notify a specific office.
Now, the murder trial of the late Sharon Otieno proceeds today. The prosecution is still on its 28th witness, a former MCA from Homa Bay County. Lawrence Muga has so far told trial judge Cecilia Githua that former Migori Governor Okoh Obado had no reason to kill the late Sharon. He said since Obado had accepted their child and was ready to support her financially, he did not see why he would be involved in the murder accusations leveled against him. The witness said the two had reached an amicable settlement to the demands Sharon had made. Sharon had demanded a 25 million shillings house in Nairobi or Kisumu, a good car equal to that of the governor's wife, and 5 million shillings for upkeep. Sharon, according to the witnesses, was happy with the offer made by the governor that he would buy her land and build her a home where she could reside with their unborn baby. He had also agreed to furnish it to to her liking. And Health CEC in Nyeri County, Timothy Ombati, is concerned over the cause of stomach pains affecting over 100 students in Ikonga Girls High School who are being treated at Nyamira General Hospital in Ekerenyo Hospital. According to Ombati, health workers continue to attend to the students. He also said that public health officials have camped at the school to investigate the cause of the problem.
Quite a number of students who presented to our hospital with similar symptoms. The stabilization started, and as I'm talking to you, we have sent a team to school to confirm exactly what the problem is. We have 3 to 5 who have not stabilized yet, and we've agreed that we are sending them to Nyamira for further review.
A woman died after a wall pot fell from the 6th floor of a building and landed on her head in Eastleigh, Nairobi. The deceased, identified as Josephine Anyango, was walking outside Filson Towers along Muratina Road when the pot hit her head. She was rushed to Al-Amin Hospital in the area where she was pronounced dead on arrival. Doctors at the facility said she had been hit and seriously wounded on the head. Police later visited the building and the house where the pot originated as part of the probe into the tragedy. The body was moved to the mortuary pending autopsy. Such accidents are sometimes reported at high-rise buildings, with falling objects killing or injuring passers-by. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, still looking easy in most parts of the city. A few minutes after 9 o'clock, and traffic is not a menace, at least not for now. Into the city, coming in from Uhuru Highway all the way through past the Nyeri Stadium roundabouts to the junction with Haile Selassie. Coming off from Gong Road, absolutely nothing. And coming in from the Thika Superhighway, you'll be fine into the city real quick, and not much traffic holding anybody up this morning. Talk to us, Spice FM KE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving whichever way.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
How are you doing? Welcome to the final hour of The Situation Room this Thursday morning, the 20th day of July 2023. It's the day that Showmax unleashes the third episode of Faithless.
Episode 3 drops today. What will Esther and her friends actually do? So let's say you didn't find you didn't get on with the first 2 episodes. Showmax allows you to actually go watch episode 1, watch episode 2, and then today, as episode 3 drops, you can actually find out what happens in this series. Faith and her friends trying to find their way through having found some money. Esther and her friends rather trying to find their way after having found some money. A brother is involved in crime. There's a crime boss trying to get on people. What is going to happen? Great acting and great production put on to Showmax's latest original title, Faithless.
Indeed. Comes out today. It's what to watch. Showmax.com. Our next guest is in the studio. Engineer John Tanui is the Principal Secretary in the State Department for ICT and Digital Economy. A very crucial one for the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. It has 5. I keep reminding people it looks like this. Eco agriculture, eco health, eco housing, eco industry, MSMEs, and digital economy, which supports all of them.
All of them.
Engineer, how is that?
You are right, Latiff.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Welcome to the Situation Room and the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you, Latiff, and Charles and Ndu for this inviting me to this session. Great pleasure for me. And you are right. There are 5 key pillars that the government selected to be the transformational areas for our economy, and it's well articulated in the plan under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Yes, you are right. The first one is agriculture. The second one is, as you put it, the SMEs and cooperatives. Then we have the housing and settlements. We have the universal health care. And the last one being digital, superhighway, and the creative economy. These areas are envisioned to address some of our identified challenges, which are about 6 of them. One of them is, of course, to lower the cost of living. The second one is to ensure that we eliminate hunger in our country to be food sufficient. The third is to create jobs, to ensure that we create jobs as a country. The fourth one is the issue of our balance of trade between Kenya and the rest of the world, that we have challenges so that we import more than what we export. So it's to address the balance of trade. We also have a challenge that the entire economy is population are not involved. We want to see that it's more inclusive in terms of engaging the whole population. So it's supposed to bridge the digital divide, bridge the barriers, and raising economy from the bottom. So those are the areas that the 5 pillars are supposed to address. I come from the 5th pillar, which is the digital superhighway and the creative economy, and we are very excited about this space because it is also new globally in terms of the digital space. When the world talked about second industrial revolution, the third industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, and now the digital space. So everywhere in the world, people are looking at how to make the most out of this space. So as a country, we are quite happy that it was identified as one of the transformational areas.
Very good. To welcome you to the conversation, CT has the day's Proverbs, and he's telling us this week's Proverbs are from the Republic of Guinea.
Yes. Not Guinea fowl, not Papua New Guinea, not Guinea Equatorial, not Guinea Bissau,
not Guinea pig,
none of those other Guineas,
not Guinea worm.
No.
Please continue. I mean,
okay, not the currency, the Guinea,
not the Guinea, the currency.
No, it is the Republic of Guinea. It's an interesting country. You call it West Africa, but it's actually more to Northwest Africa. And it has only around 6 neighbors, including the Atlantic Ocean. It's well neighbored. Okay. The proverb of the day: he who builds his own throne rules over a desert.
He who builds his own throne rules over a desert. What a PS. What's your interpretation of this proverb?
He who builds his own throne rules over a desert.
Yes.
I would say desert is a very difficult environment. Of course, it also represents emptiness, that you could rule over emptiness. But I like the word building. And I think that's a big call. When you look at the nations that have prospered, America, we have men who built America. I like that. When you talk of men who build America, men who build Korea, it's a very prestigious status in any country to ever be counted as men who built your country. So I think I would want to look on the building. Of course, a throne is the highest position that anyone can achieve. Building and sitting on a throne means the apex of leadership, the apex of honor. So as a country, I would want to see like the 5 transformational agenda areas that we have presents an opportunity for us to really create a possibility that we will have men who build Kenya in the years to come. And so the question all of us in Kenya should be asking, what are we doing to be that group of men who built Kenya? The men who brought that transformation, because we are clear we've identified our big problems, the 6 of them. How do we eliminate hunger? How do we make sure in the years to come water is no longer an issue? Because sometimes, as in one of the conversations, and an issue was raised, we need support to help Kenya resolve its water issue. And somebody asked, what water issue do you have in Kenya? And finally, it was water management issue. It's not actually water issue.
Access. It's not water sources.
Not water. We have enough water in every year, enough to last us even a few more years. So it's a water management issue. When you talk about issues of jobs, we're talking about jobs. It's a problem in our country. You make advertisement of one job, you get 12,000 applications. You go to other countries like US, you advertise 10 jobs, you get 6 applications. You go to countries like Europe now, they are facing serious challenges on meeting the advertiser job. What they talk of, I met a group of association of SMEs in Germany about 3 weeks ago, and sharing their story. The association has members of about 2,000 SMEs and startups in the ICT sector. So it was a specific sector. And they say in the last year, we were unable to fill 137,000 positions. You see, so it's the reverse of what we have as a country. So we have an opportunity and say now, how do we link between us and there, and looking at our transformational agenda on digital superhighway. So maybe I can use this to now explain what the digital superhighway.
What is a superhighway exactly?
When you talk of a superhighway, we know of the physical, we have the expressway in Nairobi, we have the bypasses that we've had. Superhighway is actually an access route that you can take and access the highest speeds of possible, and also be able to reach your destination and deliver of all the things that a physical road can provide. So when you talk about digital superhighway, we are talking about now channeling whatever goes through the digital space, which is data, messages, now even services, even digital products now can be delivered. So we are building a digital superhighway, and Kenya has made huge strides. One of the things, we are among the first countries in the region to have submarine cables land in Kenya. We had a cable called CCOM, Teams, and as of now we have over 6 and 2 more in the progress of landing. That means we have a huge connectivity to the global space. So that's the beginning of our country's digital superhighway. Talk about submarine connectivity. Previously, we used to use satellites. That you remember Longonot Station? That's why we used to connect to the world. Then now we have connectivity on the surface. We have from Mombasa now to Nairobi, all the way across even to our borders. Fiber connected underground, through underground, some together with the railway, some with the Kenya pipeline, and we have some others over it, like with Ketraco or Kenya Power. And that is now part of the connectivity. In cities, we have something we'll call metro networks, connecting the rings of a city, so that you are able to connect all parts of the cities. And then we have what we do last mile. That means connecting to our last mile to county headquarters, sub-county headquarters, and now we've committed the 100,000 kilometers additional fiber is to connect to the ward level. And we have 1,450 wards in the country, so we want to provide this connectivity to the last mile, and this is broadband connectivity like the fiber you have in your house, so that that can be available in every part of our country. And that means we are now opening whatever is available globally, the things we are talking about, the jobs we talk about in Germany, for example. They are looking for 137,000 to fill. Probably Kenya can get a share of, say, 20,000 or even 10,000. Out of 10,000, you can have about half or 3,000 of them being done online, that you don't need to travel to Germany. You can walk. And now we can bring that opportunity to you in the village, in your ward, and you can be able to access this opportunity.
Yes. You know, just like you said, the cables, 6 submarine cables have landed in Kenya
Yes.
at the coast. Now, let's look at it infrastructure-wise. We know we have a port of Mombasa, and we look at the Great North Road that then leaves Mombasa, crosses over, takes goods to our neighboring countries and brings the goods inland. This is the Mombasa Highway, okay? Now, take us through what highway, super highway we have from these 6 cables that are bringing us serious access to global internet connectivity. How do they get inland? What kind of super highways is? Now, I know you've talked about underground, and then there's, you know, the overhead cables on the Catraco lines and all, but paint for us the picture of how is this a highway, and then how do we get now the branch of roads, the roundabouts and the junctions to the other parts?
So first, the landing cables, they land somewhere we can call a landing station. So we have a number of landing stations in Nairobi, in Mombasa, where these cables land. So they land there, and now they can be connected to the rest of the fiber cables on the land. But on the sea, from Mombasa, you have some going through Djibouti, others to Fujairah, and to the rest of the world. So we have several global connectivity, and then wherever it reaches, it's connected to the rest of the world. And we build a whole connected world. On the land, when it lands at Mombasa, it lands with a capacity, just like a road. A road always has a capacity. It can be 2 lanes, 3 lanes. You can define how many vehicles can go on this road concurrently.
Yes.
So those capacities are what we have. Currently what we have, I think the utilization capacity is still low. We need to generate more usage. And the vehicles that ride on this digital superhighway is data. It's actually data. This is the data is actually technical, you can call it payloads or whatever you can call it, but it's actually what you generate and transmit, and on the other side it's turned into the whatever it can see. People know about like entertainment industry. That's where we know you can watch Netflix. You can go to YouTube. Those are the data that you are downloading. And so on the land, there are many ways that are passed through on the sides of our roads. They are duct or overhead, and they are not just cable alone. At every point also there are equipment to provide how to connect, to enter and exit from this super highway, so that you can be able to connect to businesses, connect to our mobile network operators, connect to our institutions, connect to facilities. I'm sure even in this airspace there's a lot of connectivity to the digital superhighway for it to reach the citizens in their various locations. So that's the digital superhighway. So as we build the digital superhighway as a government, one is that it will enhance communication in the country. The mobile network operators, who are our very key stakeholders, will be beneficiaries. And that's, it will enable them over broadband, even over the air, like what we have, the 4G. So that a location that they can put a transmitting station would work better if it's connected with fiber rather than using microwave or other solutions. So it enhances the connectivity, even the voice calls across the country. The other thing it does is that now we are able to connect individuals, businesses, homes. Currently we have about 1.1 million broadband connections. This includes homes and businesses. And we think this is still a very small number, because at the moment, like Kenya Power have connections almost 9 million. Yet the broadband connections are about 1 million. So we are just close to 10%.
If I may ask, Bonapius, why is that number, I mean, I have an idea, but why is that number low? But if we can shelve that, looking at the completion of the digital highway, taking into consideration that things change, you keep adding and progressing as you go along with global requirements, right? In terms of completion, where is Kenya right now in saying, look, anybody at some point then will be able to hook up on this, business, individual, home, whatever. In terms of completion, what percentage are we at?
Just using the pure numbers just mentioned, we are still First, we must acknowledge we have made huge progress as a country.
Okay.
It is really huge. You know, when we talk about we want to do this, we might look like we have not made progress as a country. As a country, in our capital cities and major towns in this country, you can enjoy data speeds that are as good as any top capital of the world, which is exciting. Mobile network experience across most of our cities and towns is excellent, and it's good. But the numbers are still low for the broadband, which is limited because of the infrastructure that you need to lay, just like the road network.
Yes.
The road network, we are sure we've been working on it. The previous years, government has talked of adding additional 10,000 kilometers of roads. That was the agenda. Now we are talking about adding another 100,000 kilometers of fiber. That's why government is so committed and prioritizing this digital superhighway as a key thing, because we want to connect to the last mile. And why are we connecting it? There are two major things we want to set up. We want to ensure we have a digital hub in every ward. In each of 1,450 wards, we want to have a digital hub.
What's a digital hub?
The digital hub would be a location where a youth and our citizen can go for digital skills, because we accept there is a new transformation. A new space is coming called digital space. We are used to working on the physical land, the sea, and even the air. But now there is a new environment, a new domain called the cyber, the digital space. So we want to make sure our people can get the digital skills that are required to do whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter which profession you are, you need to equip yourself with basic digital skills so that you can get the benefits of what is happening in the digital space. So these digital hubs, the first role is to avail digital skills. Secondly, this is the location that also we can have digital work. As you can hear that globally, there is demand for talent. We are rich with talent as a country and as a continent. Looking at the average age across the world, you find countries like Japan, the average age is 48, Germany 47, all those developed countries above 40. So, and there is a new domain coming called digital space. Who are going to really be the talent to contribute and to work? It's Africa. So we want to provide this connectivity place so that our youth can work from our digital hubs and be able to serve the world. As you are also aware, we are also launching what we call public Wi-Fis. We want to launch free public Wi-Fis in all our markets, in public road stages, matatu stages, and also the markets. Why are we doing this? We want to expose our business people in the SMEs, the informal settlement, to this digital space. Even if it's about sending a WhatsApp, using application like WhatsApp, slowly they will be discovering what is this in digital space, because this presents a new opportunity to every business who will be able to lock in, because instead of addressing the customers that normally come to your doorstep, which could be 100, 200, 1,000, now you'll be able to access to global, to the global businesses. For example, Facebook. How many people use Facebook globally? 4-point-something billion. So now you are changing from addressable market. You had an addressable market of 20,000. You can actually have an addressable market of 4.5 billion people. Now that you are able to find tools and means to reach this addressable market. And so we want to expose our people to this bigger space. You can expose your products from your small town stall in Kisii. Now you can to the country. You can start exposing to your county, to your region, to the country, to the region of East Africa, and actually to the world. So that is why we're having those two things, the digital hubs and the public Wi-Fis. They are going to be huge transformational agendas for our country. The other thing about the digital hubs is that it's not only for skills and working, we also want to use it for creative. This is the platform for the creative economy. We will be able to set up simple tools and equipments that can support creativity. Anybody with capability to create content can go to a space where there is a camera, there is a tool for post-processing. They can participate in digital marketing, they can participate in content creation, animation, and many more such opportunities. That will grow a new economy in such a big way.
All right. Let's take this break first and then we continue with the conversation. 9:30, the Principal Secretary of the State Department for ICT and Digital Economy. What's the full name of the ministry?
Ministry of Information, Communication, and the Digital Economy.
Okay. So the PS for ICT and the Digital Economy is Engineer John Tanui. He's in the studio this morning. We're talking about transforming the digital industry in Kenya. That's our conversation. As we do this, log on to www.bomayetu.go.ke. Right? Boma yangu, not yetu. Inclusive.
Lakini inaweza kwa yetu.
Bomayangu.go.ke. Find out the very many affordable housing projects that are going on around the country. In fact, what's on the website is not even updated. They should do this, the State Department for Housing. Update and put all the projects. I know there's Homa Bay we've seen. Yeah. There's Embu we've seen. There's Meru we've seen. There are more even in Nairobi that we've seen. And very many projects going on. Ongoing, started, ongoing. Some are getting near completion. How do you become eligible to own one of these apartments across the country? You do that by registering on bomayangu.go.ke, or now that Dr. Engineer Tanui is here, it's about accessibility. You can just grab your mobile phone and dial *832#. *832#. You'll walk through the prompts and you'll also register. Back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hey, you're good? It's been a minute. I don't see you at the apartments these days.
I'm good when I moved.
Better job, a better pay, more rent, huh?
Wapi Omera, call me homeowner.
Yeah, right. What are you talking about?
Listen, I was tired of paying rent. So, I remember I always told you, I need my own place.
Where? See, you must be earning a pretty penny to have bought a house or even be paying a mortgage.
No. I got on to Boma Yangu. It's a government-owned project for affordable housing.
Now, what is that?
Live the dream, owning your home. Log on to www.bomayangu.co.ke or dial *832# or walk into any Huduma Center countrywide and start your journey towards home ownership today.
Take the money. Who's gonna know? Cain won't rest until he finds you. You could run and go far away. Think about your role in the church. No one will know. It'll be your own secret. I am warning you.
4 church members pray for their crimes when they're drawn into a life of sin and violence in the new Showmax original series, Faithless. Now on Showmax. Sign up to watch at showmax.com.
You have been saving and are now seeking a safe and secure investment for a profitable return. For an investment that is cushioned from inflation, call 0719-034-550. With a deposit of as little as 250,000, you can now start collecting rental income from your unit at Elmer Estate in Kasarani by Centum Real Estate.
Sunny conditions now in Nairobi, highs of 23 and lows of 12 today. Sunny at 17 in Nakuru, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 24. In Nyeri, where it's sunny at 14, it's sunny at 15 in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 12. The sun is up in Mombasa, 24, and it's shining in Malindi at 25. 21 and mostly sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 20. While it's partly sunny in Kakamega, it'll go to highs of 29 and lows of 18. All right, into Kampala, the sun is up, going to highs of 28 and lows of 16. And Dar es Salaam is sunny at 25, going to highs of 31. We'll see highs of 14 in a cloudy Johannesburg at 6. And at 26, it's mostly clear in Lagos, highs of 30 as well in Kinshasa. Let's look into Beijing, where Thursday afternoon is sunny at 34 and it's sunny at 14 in Paris. Cloudy at 14 in London. It's still Wednesday night in New York, coming into Thursday, highs of 30 and lows of 23. We have not had a traffic problem this morning, likely to continue this way for the rest of today. Let's know what's going on where you are through the day. We've not seen any hold-ups or any hitches anywhere in terms of traffic, but we'll keep an eye out on things and see as they move along. Talk to us on Spice FM K on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
6 to 10.
Mornings done right.
In the State Department for ICT and Digital Economy, Engineer John Tanu is here. We are discussing transforming the digital industry in Kenya using the fifth pillar of the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, the digital superhighway and the creative economy. PS, you've told us what the plans are, but I must say that these plans have had them before. Since the Jubilee One administration, even before the Jubilee One administration, when the Kibaki administration was, talking about the digital economy and, landing those first cables that landed Seacom, Teams, and what was the other one? Easy cable that they landed. When they landed, we started that whole journey of bringing the fiber optic cables into the country. And then there was the whole backbone project for the NOFB project, right? It was the National Optic Fiber Network backhaul initiative of extending these fiber optics across the country. Then Jubilee One comes in, and it's the same conversation. Let's extend this and make sure that we take it to every constituency. Now we are talking about extending it to every ward. Let's take stock. Are we at every constituency? Do we have fiber optic going to, first of all the 47 counties, at least the headquarters of the 47 counties? And then beyond that, how far does our fiber optic network extend?
Thank you, Latiff. As you have highlighted, the country has made progress over the years. This progress has been consolidated. It's been progressive. There is no stone that was built and we have to remove. We are building on top of what has been done before. We are just enhancing. And that's why when we talk of 100,000 kilometers, we are talking about additional 100,000 kilometers, which is a huge undertaking. We have not dared to that level before. As of now, we have, through the public sector, about 25,000 kilometers built by the public sector agencies with the Ministry, ICT Authority, Kenya Power, Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Railways. We also have what the private sector has done. Private sector has done over 35,000. So we have made progress as a country. But, and also in terms of reach, we have reached every county headquarters. We have reached a majority of the sub-counties. And that's why we are now talking about the last mile, which is connecting to the ward level. With that, we will now be talking about connecting to over 40,000 academic institutions to ensure every academic institution is connected. We will be talking about over 13,000 healthcare facilities across the country. We are talking now about what I've talked, the digital hubs, the 1,450. So we are putting numbers out there clearly to be ready to be measured, because we want to aim at these aspirational targets. We are also talking about
currently,
yes,
in the majority of sub-counties. I'd like to know how many of those sub-counties we actually are in. What do we have there? Because the whole idea was we are going to have these hubs at the county level. Then we said we are going to have hubs at the constituency level. Do we have them? So
Yes.
that then we can believe when the government says we're going to have hubs at the ward level. If I've not seen a hub in Loitoktok, which is the headquarter of Kajiado South Sub-County, how am I going to see a hub in Kimana, which is the ward?
I like that. That question focuses more about how are we using this infrastructure we are putting in place. Yes, we have connected the county headquarters, and we have a project we call Last Mile Connectivity Project, In this, we are providing unified communication in county headquarters to the county commissioner and the various departments of government in that region, the governor's office, and we have set the connectivity in what we call local area network within those offices. We have given them tools to be able to call each other across the country through an extension. So we have made all our county headquarters to be just like within one building. You can call the other office just from wherever you are. So that is what we've done currently for our county commissioners. We've not talked much about this project, but indeed that is the situation of what has been done. We've done most of the sub-county headquarters, probably 80 or 90% of them we've connected. We've worked in the past with our members of parliament, and we established what we call CIH, County Innovation Hubs. And this was a partnership between Ministry of ICT and members of parliament through the national CDF, where now the identified members of parliament would identify a location and set up a facility that we'll call CIH, Constituency Innovation Hub. A number of them have set up. We had partners like MasterCard Foundation who are actually working with us, and they've through their support, we've recruited managers in over 110 of them. So there are already a good number which are functional. Some very exciting, some even done by private sector. You go to Mombasa, you have Swahili Hub. You go to Lake Hub, you have one. Some done through many means, and even now we've changed that ecosystem. We have now associations. We have an association called Countrywide Association of Innovation Hubs with members, over 60-something members, who are now working together to see how do we take advantage of this digital connectivity.
But Piers, let me ask you, does the end user infrastructure or lack of it then affects all of this work that's being done? Because I can have a cable that reaches to the very end of it, but if I don't have the thing that is going to hook up to that cable to be able to use it, then there's a problem. Because there it is, but in schools, it would have been fantastic, for example, if the laptops were at schools, isn't it? Because then now here we have this last mile connection that has been made, but there's nothing to hook it up to. COVID showed us that children could have actually benefited from this if those digital hubs, for example, were at ward level and there was a connection between the last mile. So you have people in the community, even when we're not in class, being then able to learn. But we also know that this end user infrastructure is expensive to have or to possess. What then is the financial strength or ability of people for whom this has been created to actually purchase and use it? Is that coming into the conversation?
Yes, it is. We are learning from lessons in the previous deployments and ensuring we improve on it. One of the challenges has been devices, as you have put it clearly. After training someone, the next is they want to use a tool, a device, a phone or a laptop. And the previous arrangement, we provided a number of laptops in the CIH, and they are there. A good number of locations have those devices. But what we are looking is now, how do we enhance to reach everybody? One is every ward to have a digital hub. And we've started working with our TVET institutions as a pilot to see how effective, and we are very impressed with the results of this. We launched last year in November. The president launched a project we call Chitume at Kapete National Polytechnic, and this we deployed 100 devices in this location and enable our youth, and started bringing the online job aggregators to work with these students. And we are able to now roll out. We've rolled out now in 90 institutions where we have fixed this. Yesterday, our cabinet secretary was in Meru to launch. We've been in many parts of the country launching these devices, and we are very impressed with the arrangement from Ministry of Education, because we are benefiting from the infrastructure they have, the governance structure, the infrastructure of power, because it requires reliable power and also security. And we are committed now to work with Ministry of Education to ensure in every TVET we have created a digital hub. And as you are aware, most of the constituencies, at least there is one TVET in every constituency. So this addresses that part. Next, we will also go to the TTIs and the village VTCs, village technical colleges or village
vocational training
institutions. So those will be now the locations where we will domicile these digital hubs. And we have received a lot of interest with partners who are working with us, because this is really a huge undertaking, but also so inspirational. It will actually transform how we work in our country. We've got partnership and support from World Bank. We've had discussions with many other partners. This week we signed an MOU with UNDP. So this is a very attractive project. It's still a long journey. As you mentioned, it's not easy to close it quickly, but we are committed to work this journey persistently and continually.
How will you know as you go along that then it is successful?
One of the ways we are using now to measure ourselves is it's not a learning. As we mentioned, this digital hub is not just for learning. Yes, digital skills is one. We have partners who have put the digital skills programs. We can measure how many people have taken these courses, how many people have got certification. But the real measure we want to see is these are tools for jobs. We want to be measured by how many people are able to access job opportunities on these platforms. We have partners who are, we have one partner in Nakuru who has a facility where he is able to accommodate 300 people on a 24-hour shift. Every 8 hours each shift, and each shift 100 people. And is able to have these people earn averages of between 20,000 a month to...
What do they do?
They are involved in digital work, remote work, and these are a varied number of jobs that are available. Some of them are, one of the biggest opportunities in the business process outsourcing or digital jobs now is artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence is creating huge demand for workers, what we call tasks, because to make an artificial intelligence function, a human being must train. They will be able to take pictures, but they need to be told, what have you seen? They need to be told, this is an asset, this is a corner, this is a building, this is a human being. Training robots and building the intelligent artificial intelligence logic requires labor, and huge labor. That entity has over 20,000 jobs currently. And we need to provide infrastructure that these jobs can be accessed by our youth. One of the things also we are looking at, and we are working with our mobile network operators, part of the digital superhighway. We realize one of the biggest bottlenecks at the moment is actually the device, the phone, because you need a smartphone. You cannot access the maximum benefits of the digital space if you have to use the USSD codes. You need to be able to have a smartphone. And we are very excited with what the mobile network operators have done. They've come together and they have committed to manufacture smartphones locally in the country. I have visited their factory and they are on course to actually see end of the next month of August or September, we'll start seeing a locally manufactured smartphone in the country.
What does that mean?
It means we will be able to have an affordable smartphone. And we are encouraging also the mobile network operators to come with more innovative ways so that to plug into this digital space, digital superhighway, the device should no longer be a limit. If I'm able to work online and get a digital marketing job, which can earn me even if it's 15,000 shillings a month, then to buy a phone of 5,000 should no longer be an hindrance. The mobile network operator should be able to see that I'm able to do this, then link me with this device and I'm able to get it.
Are we manufacturing or are we assembling?
You see, manufacturing, assembly is also a manufacture kind of. They are starting with basic assembly, so bringing knockdown kits and components and starting to manufacture.
But
the percentage of local manufacturing will increase over time, because to really build a manufacturing base, just like the cases of China, to produce one product, you don't need one industry. You need to have almost 20, 30, or in some cases 200 industries to produce one product.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's why I asked, because then if we can do that with smartphones, why not computers?
We have to start somewhere. So we've got to
start somewhere. Why can't it be multi-pronged? Why not start with it? Because it's not as though, from what you've said, we have investors who are willing to do this. I am certain there are conversations to do with computers. I am certain. It's just that it probably hasn't gone to a stage where you can talk about it. But you can't talk of phones and not talk about computers. Why I mention computers is, if we have this massive infrastructure, we have this massive highway, the tools by which that highway can be populated, or by which that highway can now be
utilized.
Yes, fully, and achieve the ends that you have, one must have the means.
The gadgets.
Yes.
Fully agree with you, Tektari.
Yes.
Fully agree with you, but we've got to start somewhere. One, we are starting with the devices. And the reason why we are starting with the devices is that we are providing free Wi-Fi in the markets. We believe for these traders in the market to tap into the e-commerce. We've launched a number of Wi-Fis in the country, and it's one of the most exciting and well connecting to our citizens.
Where are those free Wi-Fis?
We've launched in markets, Muturwaye in Nairobi. We've launched in Meru. We've launched now almost 200 and over 300.
Over 300 markets.
Over 300.
Free
by the end of this year, we will have 2,000. We want to bring on board the private sector. As a government, we have huge assets we have built over time. We have this infrastructure we have built across the country. We have these teams. One of the submarine cables, the government owns a portion of it. We are bringing internet from the global. We want to see how we can use these assets and enable SMEs, these ISPs, who already have licenses. You go to Communications Authority link, and you can see how many people have registered for this. They have over 100. How many are actually operational? There are few. How many customers? There are few. We think they can play a huge role to enhance this connectivity to our homes, to our markets, So at the market, we want to ensure that whoever is at the market can access the device, that the device will no longer be a limitation. So that is one of the things that we are working on. For the devices, for the digital hubs, we are enhancing that, working with partners. We're still bringing from outside. But there is a very exciting story also that we are doing, which is the second. The first one was connectivity, which we have explained, connectivity to connect our institutions, the digital hubs, the public free Wi-Fis, and also enhance home connection and business connections from the current 1.1 million to probably 3 million. So that's about connectivity. The second big thing we are doing is about digitalization or automating government services. This is a huge undertaking that we want to aim at a situation where, as a citizen, you no longer need to visit a government offices, that from the comfort of your office, your home, you can able to transact using the device or using your phone or whichever means. And this will really transform how citizens access services. You will be able to eliminate the challenges with the human interaction. You will be able to automate and shorten the time certain processes take. You will be able to lower the cost of a citizen. You don't need to travel. That cost of paying for matatu from one point to another one, or the time you would have used, you can use it for some other better uses. So that digitization, for us to have crossed the 5,000 mark in terms of services one can access, is a huge undertaking that the rest of the world is really admiring.
Actually, it is.
Yes,
it is. It's actually not just you. It's amazing.
Yes.
If I just look at our telephone connectivity and how it is, that sector and the innovations therein within this country, it is amazing. Now, how we use the phone, how we use the services that our phones are able to provide, it paints a very clear picture and relates directly to what you're saying. But part of the reason why this is so is because the benefits are direct. that I can call when I want, that I can send an SMS, that I can do whatever I can do with my phone is a direct benefit. That I don't need to queue at the post office to send money to my relatives in my village is a great benefit. Now, the communication bit of all this, how well has your ministry set up or is undertaking the communication of the very things that you're saying beyond this show that we have, so that the citizenry can actually not just understand but can partake in all these things that are happening at the same time,
and they can see the progress.
Yes.
When they see land being dug up, they know it's the cable that's coming, and we're going to have a hub here, and there's going to be free Wi-Fi at our market.
Yes,
I fully agree with you. There is a cap on our communication. We need to enhance and extend this, and we need to adapt to where our citizens are. The mode of reaching out is changing. I appreciate this show, and it's really one of the shows that is a must-be for important initiatives like this.
Could
and
you
we are
just
able
repeat
to
that
reach.
statement you just made again, please?
Yes,
this show is a
Daktari, you are right. I appreciate this is a very important show. That important conversations of our country needs to be good, and that's why I came. So we are enhancing our communication. We believe this is touching actually to the citizen, and just taking a bit on the aspect of what it means to digitize. One is for the services to be easily accessed by the citizens. On the back end, we want to achieve a paperless government. This will bring accountability to a new higher level.
Kill corruption.
Transparency to a new level. You cannot change a digital stamp. Once it has stamp received at this hour, this minute, this second, it's fixed, it's firm. If you have to wait for 7 days, you cannot change that. If you have to change, you have to provide how to change. So it will bring transparency to our process. So we want to actually work towards a fully paperless government. We will enjoy huge benefits. And then we will release our resources to do more creative and better things. So we are working to digitize on the backside of the government. On communication, to enhance our communication, and reality is that now we have digital platforms. I believe that as we talk now, a good number of people are not hearing us from the airspace. It's through their mobile device or their computers. They can follow you in the digital space. So we are looking, how do we adapt as even government to advertising through the digital platforms, and a directive has been given to us to see that even in our budgeting, marketing, that we actually segregate a minimum of 10% to use the digital space to reach out, because we need to communicate the opportunities, and taking you to the next space that the citizens can enjoy government services, can enjoy the digital infrastructure we have laid, but we think what these devices and connectivity is bringing is opportunities. Globally, now conversations, when there are country-to-country trade negotiations, now digital trade comes as one of the most important things people are discussing. The growth of the digital trade or contribution of the digital space to GDPs of countries is huge. And as a country, if we prepare well and tap into this, we will be able to create huge opportunities. And that's why we want to position our country to be a top ICT outsourcing location, a top business process outsourcing. We want to also host global digital infrastructure in the country, infrastructure called cloud infrastructure. We want to see what is being hosted in Middle East, in US, in Europe, to be hosted here in Kenya.
Exactly.
Hosting one data center, mega scale, creates 10,000 jobs, 5,000 to 10,000 jobs, direct and indirect. And additionally, it exposes our people to new opportunities in terms of technologies and new possibilities of things that we can do. The most new coming millionaires and billionaires in the world, or people who are on the digital space. And the more we expose our people, we have opportunities to be the solution provider for the continent. The rest of the continent is waiting to see what is Kenya doing. What e-commerce solutions are we doing? Ministry of Agriculture and Trade are looking at building an aggregation center in each of our counties and industrial parks. How do we now open these opportunities for our business people to use technology and to be able to connect those locations to the rest of the world? Nowadays, you can actually buy an item in China in a location, a factory, you have no idea where it is. But because of digital infrastructure, you can access and know everything. That's the possibilities we want to create for Kenyans, and want to encourage them that it's not just when you go to digital space now, it's not about entertainment only. Yeah, in fact, when you go and you're enjoying entertainment, somebody else actually is making money out of you.
They've created it.
How can you be able to be a participant? You can do as simple as digital marketing, and you can earn money. You can now also participate in a digital product. There are many digital products nowadays, whether it's educational, whether it's entertainment. The creative sector is huge. We visited one city in Korea.
Yeah, I want to tell you, 1 hour is a short time. You'll come again. This is the beginning of our conversation, because it's important that we all see and seize the opportunities that are being created by the digital superhighway, right?
Yes.
And yes, in terms of having those hubs, I don't see why a place that has sufficient power like Suswa cannot be hosting global data centers.
You are very right.
Or Loyangaland.
92% of our power is renewable.
Yeah,
it's an attractive element to the rest of the world.